वाहेगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह.
वाहेगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह.
You can hear me well, Ji?
हाँ जी.
Perfect. Okay. Just waiting for Deepa, and then we're ready to go. I'm just going to start sharing the link now. I think some people can hear us. I'm just going to admit people. Yeah, let me just.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm going to ask all, if you're not one of the speakers today, if you could put yourself on mute. I will do that if I hear anyone speaking. We're also waiting for Jaspal Singh Manchboard, I believe. Gurpreet, right?
He's just on his way. He should be logging in.
No problem. So I'm just sharing the links right now online and waiting for Deepa. Here we go. Deepa's in as well. वाहेगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह.
वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep, we can hear you all good. Just first time doing this, so hopefully all going well. We're just going to give it a minute or two waiting for Jaspal Singh Manchboard, otherwise we'll get started. I am just right now sharing I'm just sharing the link online. If you're not speaking today, I ask you to please put your computers, your phones on mute, please. And until you're speaking, actually, just for sound quality, if we could all put our microphones on mute. Thank you, Jill. So for anyone joining us, we're just waiting for Jaspal Singh Manchboard, and then we'll get started. So just give it another minute or two.
Just listen, can I just make a request to whoever's on the call, if they've got any questions they want to ask myself, Deepa, or even Buddy, just to put them in the chat or send them your way.
No problem, no problem. So,
and also if we could, Julie's just joined from Justice for 21. We could give
amazing.
her a couple.
Yeah, brilliant.
She can speak as well.
Okay, I'll just pin her.
Do you want me to speak? Can you hear me?
Yeah, could you speak again just so I can find you and pin you? Thank you.
Can you hear me? It's Julie Hambleton. I think my name is coming up as laptop, and I don't know why.
Oh, okay. You can change it, but
I don't know how to change it. I'm sorry. I'm not very techy, so you'll have to excuse me.
No problem. No problem. Okay, I don't think your camera's on either.
Oh no, I'm not putting my camera on.
Okay, all right. Well, we can hear you, so when we'll give you.
I'd scare you all if I put the camera on.
I'm sure that's not the case. Okay, so like I said, we're just waiting for Jaspal Singh Manchboard. That's Jaggi's lawyer based in India. We're going to give it a couple of minutes.
I think he's joined, bro. He's joined.
Yeah. Okay, let me just find.
Buddy's joined. He's just under, I think, his good job to call. That's it. He's just changed Jaspal.
No, he's changed it.
Okay, perfect.
वाहेगुरु
जी का खालसा, वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह. Okay, G, if you just give me 1 minute, I'm literally just sharing the link on our Facebook now and going to get it shared on Instagram so everyone has an opportunity to watch, and then we will get started. Thank you all for joining us. So just bear with me a quick minute.
Jazz, we appreciate you doing this as well. Thanks a lot, bro.
Thank you for the opportunity to host something like this. I think we all can agree today is a very important day. It's a very important campaign for the entire Sikh Panth. So it's humble to be able to contribute in some way. Okay.
I think it's thank you to Body Jaspal Singh as well, because it's 11 o'clock in India and he's got a pastry for Jaggi tomorrow as well. So,
ਬੜੀ
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਜਾਗ ਕੇ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਸਵੇਰ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਵਾ
ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਾਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ okay so we've got about 16 in the group and people watching now via YouTube, so we will get started. So firstly, to the speakers and everyone joining us, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you all for joining us here today. So today we're going to be talking about the case of Jagdar Singh Johal, otherwise known as Jaggi. He is the man at the center of the Free Jaggi Now campaign, which has been going on for 3 years today. And it's a situation which is of great importance to the entire Sikh community, not just because of him as an individual, but also because his case represents an issue that the Sikh community have long suffered with. So today's speaking will be Jagdar Singh Johal's brother, Gurpreet Singh. If you just want to say hello, Gurpreet, so they know who you are.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, and hello to everyone that's joined in.
So Gurpreet Singh is, as I said, Jagdar Singh Johal's brother. He's also the founder of the Sikh Legal Assistance Board. He himself is a lawyer and he's the lead of the Free Jaggi Now campaign. Also speaking will be Deepa Singh of Sikh Youth UK. If you want to say Fateh, Deepa.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
So Deepa Singh is an activist for Sikh Youth UK. He's been at the forefront of raising awareness about Jaggi's situation for the last 3 years now. And last but definitely not least, we have Jaspal Singh Manjpur. Manjpur Sahib ji, thank you. Tusi ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢਿਆ. So thank you for being with us today. ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਾਂਗਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਾਫ ਕਰ ਲਓ, ਮੇਰਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤਾਂ ਟੁੱਟੀ ਫੁੱਟੀ ਹੈ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਘੱਟ practice ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ, but ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ. So for everyone that doesn't speak Punjabi, we're going to also be carrying out a lot of this conversation in Punjabi because we have Jaggi's lawyer with us, a very respected human rights lawyer, Jaspal Singh Manjpur. So we'll be asking him questions in Punjabi and taking his answers in Punjabi as well, but we'll also be speaking English. So to get the ball rolling in our conversation, I think I'll start with you, of course, Gurpreet Singh. So, I mean, there's so much we could say, there's so much we could ask, but I guess now that we're at the kind of 3-year point, I have to start by asking, how do you feel? How are you coping? And, it's sad to say, but did you ever think we'd reach such a point?
So I just want to say thank you to everybody that's joining and watching live on YouTube as well. It's really appreciated. One of the reasons we fixed this time on the 4th of November for this Zoom call was because this time 3 years ago, our whole house was empty because we didn't know what we were doing, what was going on, because the FCO weren't helping us. We didn't know where Jaggi was. Jaggi's wife, my Masi, and Jaggi's in-laws were looking for Jaggi to find out where he is at the time. So it was a situation where we didn't know what was going on. I was trying to find tickets to go to India, whether we wait or we don't wait. And this was when we spoke to Badi Manjpur over the telephone and asked him, look, this is what's going on, what can we do? They also le Badi ne ਸਲਾਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਪਾਸਪੋਰਟ ਨਾ ਦਿਓ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਪਾਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਣ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ। ਸੋ ਭਾਜੀ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਸਲਾਹ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਪਤਾ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੀ ਹੋਣ ਡਿਆ ਵਾ, ਕੌਣ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਿਆ ਵਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕਾਫੀ, ਸੋ that was one of the biggest reasons. We didn't know what we were doing as a family because we've never experienced this. We had heard about what used to happen in 1984, but we were not aware of this happening to a British citizen and what happened. So blindly, we just thought we need to get to Jaggi, and me and my younger brother, we travelled out. So for the last 3 years, if you're asking how the family feeling, we're down, but the only reason we've got high spirits is because of the Sangat and Waheguru Ji. Because the Sangat ਨੇ ਅਰਦਾਸਾਂ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਵਾ ਸਹਾਰਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਬਣੇ ਆ ਵਕੀਲ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣ ਡਏ ਆ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ he keeps us updated with the case. Like now at 11 o'clock at night to ask a solicitor to be on a call. Not many would be on a call. I probably wouldn't be as a solicitor myself. So most of the situation that's been helpful for us is the Sangat, and that's what gets us up every day, and we know we're going to bring Jaggi back together.
Well, I mean, your actions and the way you have come across during this whole period has been an inspiration, and you're definitely a role model when it comes to kind of handling such a situation, which to be honest, we can't even imagine how you're feeling and what you're going through. So we can only kind of commend you for that. Deepa Singh, for the last 3 years, you've tirelessly gone around the country to universities, Sikh societies, to Gurdwara, to all types of events, whether they're sports events, activist events, and you've been raising awareness about the plight of Jaggi's situation, about the plight of Jagtar Singh Johal and everything he's gone through. What has the reaction been from Sangat when you've been engaging with them about this?
First of all, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I think it's very important to say that the Sangat are fully engaged with this. Within 10 days, we got his gull, into Parliament, literally into the all the MPs were speaking about it. It was massive, like within a week or two, I believe. I can't remember the exact amount of days, but that's how big, via the power of social media, Sikh media, yourselves, especially Sikh PA, and a lot of activists across the country, other active groups who were engaged. It wasn't just us, but a lot of Sikh Nojwan groups were involved, raising his voice. Stars got involved, like in the Punjabi music industry or film industry. A lot of people got behind it. The awareness went massive so quickly because it was the first time a British-born citizen had joined, and there was the first time a British-born citizen had been picked up, literally, born and bred and raised here with a red passport, and has been picked up, and nobody could do anything about it. Literally, everyone felt helpless. So there was only one way of doing that. If we didn't, at that time, make so much awareness, we don't even know if Jaggi would be here today. So that was very important at that time. And the Sangat's reaction, just as you've just asked, has been immense. Like, you walk down the road and people pull us over and they ask what's happening with his case. Literally everywhere we go, people stop and ask about it. So, the engagement with the Sangat is honestly probably one of the most talked about in every household. Like, if somebody's household doesn't know this, and you're born in the Punjabi Sikh community in UK, honestly, there's something wrong. But literally everywhere we go, people ask us about it, what the updates on the case are, and obviously we divert them straight to the Free Jaggi campaign or our pages. Obviously, media-wise, and legally we send them to Advocate Jaspal Singh Manjpur. I would say right now as well, though, it's not just the Sangat that engage. There's other, obviously the work we do as Sikh Youth UK, we stand up for miscarriages of justice, and we try and raise people's voices, be it grooming, be it like the Jaggi campaign, or be it any sort of injustices in the UK. Like there's a lady joined called Julie Hambleton today, and they're part of the miscarriage of justice, which happened in the Justice for the 21 in Birmingham. As Jaggi's campaign's gone, we've linked in with other campaigners who have had and suffered the same sorts of miscarriages of justice by the systems. So it's important to, you know, work together and network like that. So the engagement is very, very important.
Definitely have to agree with that. And we were seeing a message in the chat here, which others can't see, but you mentioned Julie is in the group, and she's a respected activist herself from a big famous case in Birmingham that you guys have connected with. And she's come out in support of the Free Jaggi Now campaign from the awareness that you've run. And I just want to reiterate a key point, which is, it's hard to say, but it is an important point, that without the level of awareness, without so many people talking about this case, Jaggi, like many others, could have just disappeared into that system, and who knows what would have happened to him. And that's why it's important that the questions remain being asked, and that's why it's important the conversations remain happening. And I would say it's the same for me as well in regards to people asking me about the case, whether it be, you know, Arm Sangat every time I'm in any kind of Sangat event, or my family or my friends. It's one of the most common things I've been asked about over the last 3 years in connection with my work. Moving forward, Manjpur Sahib ji, ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਨੂੰ 3 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ?
ਦੇਖੋ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਪਲੀਕੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਦਾ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਦਾ ਦੇਖੋ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਸਕਾਟਿਸ਼ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਹੈਗਾ UK ਦਾ, ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ 3 ਸਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੰਮਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ। ਹੈ ਵੀ ਆ ਇੱਕ ਆਮ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਬੀਇੰਗ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਪਰ ਜੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੁਡੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇਖੋ, ਇੱਥੇ ਆਮ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫਿਰ ਮਿਨੋਰਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ ਕੇਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਿੰਗਰ ਔਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਡਿੰਗਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਅਦਾਲਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿਣੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਲੰਮਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ। ਜੇ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਕੋਈ ਕਰੇਜ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੌਮ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਸਿੰਪਥੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਨਸਿਕ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂਟਲੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੋੜਨ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਉਹਦਾ ਬ੍ਰੇਕਅਪ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਬੰਦਾ ਟੁੱਟ ਜਾਵੇ। ਪਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੇ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਵੇਂ 3 ਸਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ, ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਦਿਨ ਉਹਨੂੰ 3 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਸੀ। ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਨਾਲ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਵੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ ਵੀ ਚੁੱਕ ਲਿਆ, ਕੀ ਕਰੀਏ, ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ 3 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਖੜੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਚਾਰਜ ਫਰੇਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਦਾਅਵੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਟ੍ਰਾਇਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਫਾਈਨਲ ਡਿਸਪੋਜ਼ਲ ਹੋਊਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੀ ਅਕਿਊਟਲ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ ਹੋਰ ਚਾਰਜ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ ਫਰੀਦਕੋਟ ਵਾਲਾ, ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਡਿਸਚਾਰਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਰਟ ਨੇ ਕਰਤਾ। ਹੁਣ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ 2 ਕੇਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁਹਾਲੀ NIA ਕੇਸ, ਇੱਕ ਅਮਿਤ ਅਰੋੜਾ ਅਟੈਂਪਟ ਟੂ ਮਰਡਰ ਕੇਸ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਜਗਦੀਸ਼ ਗਗਨੇਜਾ ਮਰਡਰ ਕੇਸ ਹੈਗਾ। ਉਹ 2 ਕੇਸ ਕੰਸਲਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਚਾਰਜ ਦੀ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ, ਸਾਡੀ ਤਾਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਹੈ, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੋਂ ਚਾਰਜ ਸੀਟ ਫਾਈਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ NIA ਨੇ 1.5-2 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ। ਸੋ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ, ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਉਹ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਸਵੇਰੇ। ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ 6 ਕੇਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਪਟਿਆਲਾ ਹਾਊਸ ਕੋਰਟ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਆ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫੇਟ ਵੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਫਰੀਦਕੋਟ ਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ। ਮੈਂ ਜੇ ਲਾਅ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਤੋਂ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ NIA ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ 8 ਕੇਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫੇਟ ਉਹੀ ਆ ਜੋ ਫਰੀਦਕੋਟ ਵਾਲੇ ਕੇਸ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਧੱਕਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੇ ਮਿਨੋਰਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਆਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਨੋਰਮਲ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਬੀਇੰਗ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ। ਪਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਧੱਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲੰਮਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਰੱਖ ਲਈਏ। ਸੋ 3 ਸਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੋਰ ਦੈਨ ਸਫੀਸ਼ੀਐਂਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਸਟਡੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਕਰਕੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਡਿਲੇ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਦੀ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਡਿਸਚਾਰਜ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਤੇ ਜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਡਿਸਚਾਰਜ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਚਲੋ ਇੱਕ ਵਕੀਲ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ 100% ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਸਰਟਨਟੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਕੋਰਟ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ, ਉਹਦੀ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਸੈਟਅਪ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜੁਡੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਆਫੀਸਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਸਿਸਟਮ ਕੀ ਆ ਇੱਥੇ, ਮਾਹੌਲ ਕੀ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਪਿਆ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੁਛ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਚ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੀ ਵੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਫਰੇਮ ਹੋ ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ। ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੇਲ ਵਾਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੱਲਾਂਗੇ, ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਡ ਆਨ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਜਿਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਅਮਿਤ ਅਰੋੜਾ ਵਾਲੀ ਡਿਸਮਿਸ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੀ। ਉਹ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਰਜ ਦਾ ਦੇਖਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਵੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਭਾਈ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਫਾਈਨਲ, ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਪਲੈਨਿੰਗ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੋਚੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ, ਕਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਬਲਿਕਲੀ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, ਜੋ ਸਾਡਾ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਲਾਈਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਸਾਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਵਕੀਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਲਾਹ ਕਰਕੇ, ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਵੀ, ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਵੀ, ਦਿੱਲੀ ਵੀ, ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ, ਤੇ ਭਾਜੀ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਲਾਹ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਲਾਈਨ ਲਈ ਹੈ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੇਫਲੀ ਨਿਕਲਾਂਗੇ। ਆਉਂਦੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੁਖਦ ਸਮਾਚਾਰ ਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੰਭਾਵਨਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਵੇਗੀ।
Just to translate for anyone that doesn't speak Punjabi, I think some of the key points said there were that 3 years does seem long, but sadly in the face of the Indian judicial system, this is often standard, and in fact sometimes it doesn't seem like this comparatively not a long time. So there have been some people that have spent much longer before their cases have even been looked at, let alone have they been, you know, taken to trial or even found guilty. And again, in Jaggi's situation, he's only got one trial hearing that has started, and the rest are still pending and constantly deferred. And even in that trial hearing, there's just constant deferments of the hearings. Baisa Manjpur Saab said that he's also very confident that, like the Faridkot case that was dismissed from Jaggi, the other cases will also fall the same way. Manjpur Saab ji, tusi Jaggi ta ode naal tusi ਕਿੰਨਾ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਹੁੰਦਾ, how often ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ?
ਦੇਖੋ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦਾ ਲਾਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੀਗਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗਸ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਕੈਂਸਲ ਸੀਗੀ, ਤੇ ਥਰੂ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਲਾਸਟ 28 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਨੂੰ ਵੈਨ ਉਹਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਟਿਆਲਾ ਹਾਊਸ ਕੋਰਟ ਹੀਅਰਿੰਗ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ। ਕੋਈ ਖਾਸ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ VC ਦਾ ਹੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ ਲੀਗਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ, ਪਰ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ VC ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਯਾਰਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ, ਮੇਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਫਿਸ ਹੈਗਾ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਦਾ। ਸੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਦੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਮਰੀਜ਼ ਵੀ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ, ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ ਲੀਗਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਲੀਗਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲ ਲੀਗਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਆ ਉਹ ਖੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਤਿਹਾੜ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ 'ਚ, ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਪਲਾਨ ਸੀਗਾ ਕੱਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਾਣ ਦਾ, ਪਰ ਮੇਰੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਥੋੜੀ ਠੀਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਿਆ। ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਵੀਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਪਲਾਨ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਵਾਂ। VC ਦਾ ਹੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੇਖੀਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਸਾਫ ਸੂਰਤ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦਸਤਾਰ ਵੀ ਸਜਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਹਦਾ ਦਾੜਾ ਵੀ ਪੂਰਾ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਵੈਸੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਡਿਊਰਿੰਗ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਰਿਮਾਂਡ ਜਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਭੇ ਜਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਵੀ, ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਵਧੀਆ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਆ। ਇੱਕ ਜੋ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੁਸੀਬਤ ਪਈ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਖਿੜੇ ਮੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਡਿੰਗ ਜਾਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੰਮੇ ਝਮੇਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਾਕਫੀਅਤ ਆ। ਉਹਦੀ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੰਮਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੇਲ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡੀਸੈਂਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਬਿਹੇਵ ਕਰਦੇ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਮੁਸੀਬਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ, ਪਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਹਾਈ ਸਪਿਰਿਟਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੁਛ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਆਊਗਾ ਉਹ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਇੱਕ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਆਊਗਾ। ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਫਸਟ ਹੈਂਡ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੋਊਗੀ, ਫਸਟ ਹੈਂਡ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਵੀ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਵਸਦੀ ਨੌਜਵਾਨੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਧੀਆ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਊਗੀ।
Gurpreet Singh, do you have anything to add? And from your own experiences as well, how often do you get to speak to Jaggi? What are your interactions like, if any?
So first of all, I think just what Advocate Manjpur has said is, and just you said it as well when you were summarising, was this is common in India, but because we're British, we're used to a system, we're used to seeing a procedure. 3 years is a long time for us, and the whole process of the prosecution being allowed to delay it this long, not providing the evidence that they say they have for over a year. So that then becomes difficult in understanding the whole process. So Advocate Panjpur has been very good with explaining what's going on. We have seen timelines, but what we have seen is that we need to put the pressure. Because if we don't put pressure on the UK government, on the Indian government, and even to an extent the Scottish government, then it makes it very difficult for us to actually have any impact. And that's the reason the whole campaign's been successful, like we've said from the start. And there's not a bad negative impact of our campaign on Jaggi's case. If anything, the judges are human beings, albeit that they don't look like human beings. Given 3 years on, all they do is adjourn the hearings and they don't do anything. At the end of the day, they must be looking and thinking, 3 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋਣ ਰਹੀ ਆ ਸਰ ਇਹੀ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਆ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਆ So, so when you add all of these things together, it has an impact. So as a lawyer in the UK, I think it's atrocious that this kind of thing happens. ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਇਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਬੰਦਾ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇੰਨਾ ਧੱਕਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਕਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਸੀ never thought a British national would be tortured by the Indian police. When we used to go to India when we were kids, we were told, oh, stay away from Punjab police, and you used to say, we have a British passport, nothing will happen to us. And then when you hear the stories where as soon as you're to say you have a British passport, you get slapped or you get beaten up even more. Now it's a reality and our whole family's facing that. So in terms of what Baji has said, of what's going on, it's the support of the Sangat again for me and the family that keeps us going in order to push us forward.
Just to jump in to add or to underline a couple of points, I think a key thing you said there is that whilst this might be normal in regards to the way the Indian judicial system works, it by no means makes it right. And this has been documented by many humanitarian, many human rights groups. They have underlined the fact that the way the Indian judicial system works provides very little justice. Often people can be detained for years, often even decades, before it is found that there's very little substance in the charges pushed against them. And I think it was just last week, the Sikh Legal Assistance Board that you work with, they helped free 3 people, I believe, that were detained again for 3 years. And after 3 years, once their cases were taken, were able to be examined properly, instead of adjourned, the cases against them were dismissed and they were freed. So, I mean, I think that's an important part to remember.
I think just to add to that, just where was that 3 people were released. One was on bail. Baji can give us more information about that. 3 people spent 3 years and 4 months in prison. 2 were released today. They were sentenced to 3 years. And it was astonishing. They've spent 3 years and 4 months in prison, and then the judge had put a 10,000 rupee fine on them as well, or they had to spend another 3 months in jail. So the extra 4 months they've spent in jail meant nothing. For 3.5 years, Baji Manjpur has been fighting that case, and the trial, that's how long the trial it took itself. So it is astonishing that these things are happening. But what's worse is the UAPA Act that the Indians hide behind. And that is the basis why they don't let people out on bail. And we've been speaking about it. So for many that don't know, Sikh Legal Assistance Board is a charity that was set up by myself because we had a message from Jaggi that there's a lot of people here in India that don't have legal representation. And when it was legal representation, it was because they're the only people that can actually, they're the bread earners of the family and they're sitting in jail. So the families can't afford to pay the legal representation. And as a result of that, what's happening is that they're staying in jail without having representation. So we then we had a discussion with a wide panel of members and we decided to make Sikh Legal Assistance Board. Baji Manjpur is the legal director of that, so he sets up the legal panel with the lawyers there. And again, this is something from Jaggi that if Jaggi had been detained, we would never probably have thought about doing this. But there's a lot of people that don't have the same support that Jaggi has. ਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਵਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੱਥ ਫੜਨ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲੀਗਲ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ। ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਵਕੀਲ ਕਾਫੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਭਾਜੀ ਮੰਚਪੁਰ ਲੀਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਟੀਮ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ, ਤੇ ਵਕੀਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਪਰਸੋਂ ਚੌਥ ਵੀ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੀ ਵਕੀਲ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਕਾਫੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਬਣ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੀਗਲ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ। And also, just not with the legal team, what we've seen is we've had very good successes where people have either been released out on bail. Today, in this particular case, 2 people were sentenced and 2 people have been released. So they needed representation, and that has been given.
I've just put the link to the Sikh Legal Assistance Board in our chat here on Zoom and also on YouTube. For anyone that wants to find out more, we are regularly tagging and sharing work by them on Twitter, Instagram, and so forth. So please do hit the profiles, give them a follow, and learn more about what they do and also how you can help yourself. Vijay, before I speak to Deepa Singh again, I just wanted to touch back on what have your interactions been like with Jaggi? How often do you get to engage with him, if at all?
Sorry, just wait, I forgot to answer that question. So
No
with Jaggi, the last conversation we had was just after the protest in London, in which the pressure was put through the protest and the jail authorities allowed him to speak to us, which was in August 2020. Before that, it was on the 5th of September 2019. So in terms of physically speaking to him over the telephone, it's just been via 3, I think I've had 4 calls in the last 3 years from Jaggi. The first one was literally a couple of minutes. Time Jaggi managed to say anything, it was the phone hung up. The second one, he managed to just quickly say, I need these things, can you please arrange for them? Jeans, clothes, and that's as much as we got, and then the phone cut out. The third one was on the 5th of September, which coincidentally was my birthday, and he'd phoned on that day, and again it was just to find out what information or what stuff he needed, etc. And he got to speak to his wife, and his wife's birthday is on the 7th, and that's as much contact we've had with him since he's been incarcerated. The only thing we have had is the FCO constantly meeting him. So what is important is for everyone that's listening and on the call is because of the constant pressure that we're putting on the government, that they're actually going out their way to meet Jaggi as many times as they have been. So that's the amount of contact we've had. Paji Manjpur had contact with him through video link, as Paji ne ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਦੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਵਾ, ਜੱਗੀ ਨੂੰ ਆਉਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਵਾ, ਜੂਰੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਬੰਦੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ. So there's a lot of people there that come in and out of the prison. So there's a more of a risk of getting COVID. So that's the reason the VC video link meeting has been less as a result of that.
Thank you, G. And I think it would be quite shocking for people to hear that you've only been allowed to have 4 phone calls with Jaggi in the last 3 years. So, you know, our heart goes out to you with that situation. Deepa Singh, we've talked about how important this situation is to Sangat and how they're constantly asking about it, speaking about it, and just engaging in general. And we've seen that it was an international trend on Twitter when Jaggi reached 1,000 days earlier this year. And, you know, today we've had messages from Malaysia. There's people in countries like Germany, Italy that are constantly messaging about it and showing their support. Why do you think that this is so important to them in regards to kind of the overall situation with the Sikh community when it comes to the Indian judicial system? What do you hear from Sangat when you're speaking to them about how they feel about, you know, the Sikh relationship with India?
So the relationship with India, obviously, if in Sikhi you learn about our itihas, our history, in that, if you see, if people aren't on Gurdwara platforms and Pacharaks or Sikh orgs not talking about 1984, then that's one of our most recent battles that we saw Sikhs where a genocide took place, and which started on an attack on Sri Harmandir Sahib in June 1984 and then went on to November. Jaggi was one of those things. He's not the only one, but he was one of those Sikhs and Sikh activists that documented this. And this is why it's so important, because that website he set up, Never Forget 84, those pictures he scanned and had of those Shaheed families, which are literally on Gurdwara walls, banners being made of them, T-shirts being made of them. How much prachar has been done just by that Never Forget 84 website and that vision and mission he did? You know, it's immense. That's why internationally people feel for this issue. It's one of the most realist issues and the most serious issue we've got right now as a community, because second to none, it's literally, you know, a UK citizen has been tortured, you know, taken from his family exactly in the same way it used to happen in the 80s and 90s. And not only has that happened, they've gone one step further, where they've obviously the UK were colluding, because there was a time in his torture where he said that photos, I believe Jaspal Singh Manj was on, and he can second this, that pictures of Sikh activists were shown to him from UK and Canada and whatnot. So, you know, this is why it affects everyone internationally. It's like, who is literally spying on Sikhs and giving India this sort of information, where somebody who's just gone to get married, like Jaggi, has just been wrapped up, kidnapped, thrown in the back of a van, and literally taken off us, you know, and nothing since. Like Gurpreet just said, 4 phone calls the family's had. Like, this is why it's just had a massive impact on everyone, because it's exactly what they used to do in the 80s, but yet now they're saying we're doing it in the West.
Indeed. So 3 points to underline there from what Deepa Singh said, just to emphasize them. And one is that this is such a serious case because a lot of people within Sangat circles recognize Jaggi's role as a really prominent Sevadar when it comes to documenting issues around the 1984 Sikh genocide and the Sikh reaction then. And thus his work is why it is believed he has been singled out. So then it brings us on to the next point, which is who is next? If pictures are being shown to Jaggi of activists in the UK and in Canada, then that surely is a concern for a lot of people, because this is a kind of work that a lot of people are touching on, a lot of people are speaking out about. And so, I mean, I guess that is a concern which points out the fact that there are lives on the line here. There's Jaggi's life on the line, there's other Sikh political prisoners, and again, who knows who it could be next, and that's concerning for all. I'm going to bring in now Julie Hambleton, who I'm just taking off mute so she's able to speak to us. Did that work? Can you hear us, Julie?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can we all hear her? Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, I just wanted to bring you in. So tell us about your experiences in finding out about the Free Jaggi Now campaign and connecting with the Sikh Youth UK team and Deepa Singh, and just, you know, what your perception is of the issue.
Okay, well, first and foremost, to Gurpreet, your dignity and fight for your brother is absolutely inspirational. God bless you. It really is. You sit there calm, patient, and I'm sitting here and my heart is broken for you and your family, and obviously for Jaggi. God bless his soul. Oh my God. And his lawyer, what a gentleman. He sounds and looks very much like our solicitors who represent us pro bono, who are actually based in another country, strangely enough. But we got to find out about your brother's fight through Deepa when we were protesting ourselves about our own campaign. In 1974, bombs went off in Birmingham city centre and 21 people were murdered, and they also attempted to murder 200 other souls who were left with life-changing injuries. One of those who was killed was my sister. She was only 18. And since that time, they sentenced 6 men to the crime they didn't commit, and after drawn out appeals, that they were freed 16 years later. But it's been 46 years. and the government and the police know who did it, but no one is doing anything to bring these cowards to justice. And we were protesting outside the Conservative Party conference over 2 years ago, and Deepa was there with the Sikh community, and he came over and we started speaking, and he asked me to speak to the Sikh community about supporting Your Brother's campaign, Gurpreet, and all of our supporters were more than happy to do so. We support you as we support our own, because I think the old adage, strength in numbers, is as true now as it ever was, particularly in the UK, where injustices continue to go unchallenged continually. But what is worrying is how Western countries like ours, who claim to have a judiciary system that is the envy of the world, yet if people really knew just how corrupt and bent it was, they would seriously consider. I mean, I don't understand why so many people want to come and live here, because the only people that would really want to come and live here are murderers, because you can come to this country, and I am speaking from experience, so I know you can come to this country and kill with impunity and not have any fear of retribution, because the murderers who killed my sister and the other 20 are still at their liberty. 2 of them have died that we know of, but they had full lives and they had children, they've got grandchildren. But what I wanted to ask was this, Gurpreet, if COVID wasn't around, if you flew to India, would you be able to visit your brother?
So, Julie, I potentially think I can visit, because blood relations can visit. So basically, my younger brother could, and my dad could. But the problem is that accusations were made against myself right at the start, and by leading a campaign against the Indian
right,
state.
okay. So you would put yourself in danger as well, which of course would defeat the object of the fight for your brother. Okay. The other thing was, I've got a couple of questions if you don't mind.
Yep.
What assistance, if any, have you had from the Scottish government?
The Scottish government have pushed it on to the UK government, and despite asking for various meetings with the Scottish government, it wasn't until the 28th of October that we met the first time with the Scottish Parliament, and then he has written out to Dominic Raab on the 30th of October. So whilst they have been assisting Martin's campaign as a Scottish National Party member, they haven't actually had as much involvement as I think they should have had, and how much they should. So my pressure has always been on Westminster. I believe that Scottish Parliament can do a lot more than they have been doing.
Okay, it's funny you say that. That's why I asked that question, because that's what they tend to do, because our legal team are based in Northern Ireland. And we've also had meetings with the Irish president and the Irish Simon Coveney, who is the foreign affairs senator or something, I can't remember, very nice man. And that's what they do, is they push it onto the UK government, and they just bat you around, and that's what they do. But what is really troubling from listening to what everybody's been saying is that there continues to be a hierarchy of victims that the UK and the Indian government creating here, but across the world. Your brother is a British citizen and has the right he has exactly the same rights as everybody else. And I was sitting here, I've been gritting my teeth with anger, because I'm thinking to myself, well, there's a continuing of victims of injustice, not only in the UK, but victims abroad. For instance, the coverage of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe. She gets all the coverage, and she's imprisoned in Iran. Yet I've never seen any coverage about your brother on the TV. I've never seen any news about Free Jaggi, and your brother hasn't had any level of similar support to that of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe. Well, why would that be? Why hasn't? Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm coming from an outsider's layman's perspective here. So you will probably see how ignorant I am, the level of knowledge I know. But Nazanin's case is being supported by Amnesty International. Is Amnesty International supporting Jagged?
They're not. Julie, just to answer a couple of those questions that you've just mentioned there, is that the media coverage that we've had has been the impact of an international campaign, which was set up right at the start when I flew back from India. At that point, we decided that we had to go vocal because we didn't want Jagtar to be one of the victims of 1984, where a lot of youth were killed at the time. So at that point, it became vital. And a lot of the media coverage, which is the mainstream media coverage, has not been that much over the last 3 years. And this is what even some of the journalists in Scotland have said, that why is it not? Is it because he's a brown man? Is it because he's a Sikh? Or is it because he's from Scotland? So I think that's been the issue that we've been overcoming. It is upsetting when you've got Sky News, you've got BBC News, you've got The Guardian, etc., covering a lot of the cases, but not Jagtar's case. So it is, but that doesn't mean we just stop at the media, because what we have just now is also people power. And we believe in prayers, and we have the Ardasa, the prayers of the Sangat, which is the worshippers. And having that is what's getting us through. And whilst Nazanin's got it, I've spoke to Richard quite a few times. He's also supportive of the Free Jaggi Now campaign. What he said was they struggled to get a lot of the coverage that they did, and it wasn't until Boris Johnson had messed up. So it is one of those ones that we've just got to plod along with. Eventually we got on to Good Morning Britain, but that was a lot of hard work, and that was from Jasveer at Sikh PA, the media pressure from Deepa Singh and Advocate Manjpur. Because at the end of the day, like you said, he has been vocal. He is sitting in India as a solicitor telling us exactly what's going on. So sorry, I'm just going to say this in Punjabi because people are listening in Punjabi. ਜੂਲੀ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਕਵਰੇਜ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣ ਡਈ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਵਾਬ ਮੈਂ ਇਹੀ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਭਰੋਸੇ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ UK ਮੀਡੀਆ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਵਰ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ, ਪਰ ਜੋ ਸੰਗਤ ਦੀ ਅਰਦਾਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਆ, ਜਿਹਦੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਮਗਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਰੇ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਗਾਹ। ਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਮੰਚਪੁਰ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੰਡੀਆ 'ਚ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਹੋਣ ਡਿਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਗੱਲ ਵੀ ਕਰਦਾ, ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਕਰਨ ਡਿਆ ਵਾ। ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਦੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਸਿਰਫ ਜੱਗੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਕੈਦੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਦਾ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਵੀ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਵਾ। Sorry, Julia, I was just saying that in Punjabi, that Advocate Manjpur will say it as it is.
If you don't mind, I'm sorry for interrupting, but if you don't mind, are you happy for me to write to Nicola Sturgeon and also to Dominic Raab on behalf of the Free Jaggi campaign to show our
I would
support?
be obliged. I would be obliged if you would, because it just shows again more pressure on Nicola Sturgeon and Dominic Raab.
Okay.
If there's anything you want to add, feel free to finish off. There's just a couple of points again I'd like to underline there.
Yeah, no, thank you, Julie.
No problem. Thank you for that contribution, Julie, and you're more than welcome to chip in. You yourself are an inspiration in regards to working, hard against issues of the state judiciary. So thank you for your contribution there. Just a couple of points. Firstly, I have put in the email address of Nicola Sturgeon, who is arguably in many ways the most senior Scottish politician out there right now, who should be addressing the Free Jaggi Now campaign. So her email address has been put in the Zoom chat. It's been put in the YouTube chat for anyone to see. And as Julie just said there, she will be doing, and Gurpreet has said, has given license to anyone supporting the campaign. Do send her an email and do share your thoughts that she needs to address this. That pressure needs to come through the Sangat, through those supporters of the Free Jaggi Now campaign, and be felt by those that are meant to be representing us, which includes Nicola Sturgeon. So the email address is there. Make note of it. Send your emails. she needs to bring this up. They need to address the issue of Jaggi's situation. In regards to media coverage, I completely agree. Even as someone that is helping to lead Free Jaggi Now media coverage, there's not enough being done for many reasons and in many ways. I myself have personally found it very difficult to communicate the story and find interest within newsrooms across the UK. Even today, yesterday, I've made many phone calls and countless emails, must be thousands of emails now, to so many different newsrooms about Jaggi's situation. And it just doesn't comparatively get as much coverage as the Nazanin situation, which, I think is great that they are getting that kind of attention. They need it, they deserve it for the work they're putting in. But at the same time, so does the Free Jaggi Now campaign too. In regards to that, the great equalizer we have is the work of the supporters that are using the sometimes free platform of social media where we can voice our concerns. Now, there has been issues of censorship which have become apparent, not just this week, but previously and through the last 3 years. And, the Sikh Press Association has countless evidence of this. I'll just give one quick example. There's a quite well-known artist from the Sikh community in the UK that created an image of Jaggi when he reached 1,000 days. She has thousands of followers on Facebook. When she put out her post on Jaggi, she showed me a screenshot of her post, and it showed that the reach after, I think, like 12 hours was one single person that had reached her post from somebody that has thousands of followers. So, there are issues there in regards to social media too. But in general, I think we just need to keep up the hard work, and we need to kind of force the hand of the media. The more that we are making it vocal, the more that we are vocalizing, on the story, the more likely it is that they have to pick it up. So to anyone listening, just keep your voices out there, keep talking about it on social media. And as Gurpreet has said, it adds to the pressure on our politicians here and the judicial system there to ensure that Jaggi just doesn't slip between the cracks, as has often happened with Sikh political prisoners. I'm going to move on now and ask Jaspal Singh Manpur Sabji another question. Manpur Sabji, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੇਸ ਦੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੇਸ ਦੀ hearing ਅੱਗੇ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ? So I'm asking Manpur Saab about the fact that case hearings are continually adjourned, delayed, deferred, whatever you want to say. So how do you prepare for them?
ਦੇਖੋ, ਇੱਥੇ ਰੂਟੀਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਕੇਸ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਉਹ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਤਾਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੀ ਆ, ਵਿਦਆਊਟ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੇਸ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਪਰ ਉਹ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜੌਲ ਦੇ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਈਏ ਤੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ 3 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਉਹਦੀ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਨੂੰ 2017 ਦੇ 'ਚ, ਮਈ 2018 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੀ ਚਾਰਜਸ਼ੀਟ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਫਾਈਲ ਕਰਤੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ। ਸੋ ਮਈ 2018 ਤੱਕ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਏਜੰਸੀ ਕੋਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 180 ਡੇਜ਼ ਮੈਕਸੀਮਮ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਸੀਗੇ ਚਾਰਜਸ਼ੀਟ ਫਾਈਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਟਿਆਲੇ ਹਾਊਸ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਕੇਸ 6, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਆਫ ਕਾਸਟ ਅਕਿਊਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਚਾਰਜ ਤੇ ਬਹਿਸ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ। ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਫॉर ਵਨ ਐਂਡ ਅਨਦਰ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ ਕੇਸ, ਉਹ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਪੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਰਹੀ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਖਾਰਜ ਹੋਈ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਾਪੀਜ਼ ਕੁਛ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਟੈਪ ਵਾਈਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨਰੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਘਾਟ ਆ, ਸਾਡੇ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਫਿਸਰਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਬਿਜੀ ਆ ਹੋਰ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੇ। ਫਿਰ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲਾਤੀ ਇਨ ਦੀ ਮੀਨ ਟਾਈਮ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੇਸ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ। ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਜਦੋਂ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਨੇ ਐਕਸ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਸਟੇ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਤੇ। ਫਿਰ ਕੋਰਟ ਵੈਸੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਸੀ। ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਨਵੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 2018 ਤੋਂ ਮਈ 2019 ਤੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਕੇਸ ਸਟੇ ਰਹੇ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ 2019 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। 2019 'ਚ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਜਾਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਕੁਛ 3 ਹਿੱਸਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਮਿਲੇ 6 ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੇ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਨਵਰੀ ਆਈ, ਉਹ ਤਰੀਕਾਂ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਟਿਆਲਾ ਹਾਊਸ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੰਮੀਆਂ ਪਾਈਆਂ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੇਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈਗੇ, ਅਸੀਂ 2 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ਾਰਟ ਡੇਟ ਪਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ। ਸੋ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਕੋਵਿਡ ਤੋਂ ਵੈਸੇ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਡਿੰਗ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਦੁਬਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ 2 ਕੇਸ ਦੀ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਮੋਹਾਲੀ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਗਤਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਤੇ ਵਕੀਲ ਭਾਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਉਹਨੇ ਕੇਵਿਟ ਲਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ 2 ਕੇਸ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਲਈ ਆ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਸ਼ਿਫਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਪਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਆਫ ਇੰਡੀਆ 'ਚ ਦਾਖਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਬਣਾ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ, ਇਸ ਬੇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਕੇਸ ਇੱਥੇ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਮੰਗੀ ਵੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਜੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਲੈ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ, ਸਾਰੇ ਕੇਸ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਫਰੇਮ ਹੋਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਕੋਰਟ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ 1-2 ਵਾਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਫਿਰ ਹੁਣ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਪੋਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਉੱਥੇ ਸ਼ਿਫਟ ਕਰ ਦੂਗੀ ਦਿੱਲੀ, ਫਿਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਕੋਈ ਸਟੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ NIA ਦੇ ਕੇਸ ਆ ਉਹ ਚਾਰਜ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਲੱਗਿਆ। ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਦੇਖੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੀਗੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ, ਮੈਂ ਕੋਲ ਚਲਾਈ, ਉਹ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਅਜੇ। ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹੋ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਦਾ ਟੌਰਚਰ, ਉਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਆ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਪੋਸੀਬਲ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੰਪਟਮ ਜਗਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੌਹਲ ਦੇ 3 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਦਿਸ ਜਾਣ। ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਉਹ ਪੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਆ, ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜਨਵਰੀ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਤਰੀਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੀ ਐਗਜ਼ੈਕਟ ਡੇਟ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਨਹੀਂ, 2021 ਤੱਕ ਉਹ ਚਲੀ ਗਈ ਹੈਗੀ, ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੇਸ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ ਸੀ UAP ਦਾ, ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਜੁਡੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੀ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। 2009 ਦਾ ਕੇਸ ਸੀ, 2010 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ 2010 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਦੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਫਾਈਲ ਹੋਈ, 2010 ਦੇ ਚਾਰਜ ਫਰੇਮ ਹੋ ਗਏ। 2010 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਰਜ ਫਰੇਮ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਵੀਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਏ ਸੀ, ਤੇ 2014 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਅਕਿਊਟ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰਿਵੀਜ਼ਨ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਪੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਆ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਨੰਬਰ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਵੀ ਪੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੀ ਆ। ਕੇਸ ਅਕਿਊਟ ਹੋਏ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ 6 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ। ਸੋ ਕੇਸ ਥੱਲੇ ਬਰੀ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਚਾਰਜ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਰਿਵੀਜ਼ਨ ਪੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਆ। ਸੋ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਨ ਐਂਡ ਅਨਦਰ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ। ਹੁਣ ਲਾਸਟ ਡੇਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ 28 ਤਰੀਕ ਸੀਗੀ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਰੀਕ ਸੀਗੀ, ਉਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਰਟ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਮੰਜਪੁਰ ਡੂ ਯੂ ਰਿਸੀਵ ਆਲ ਦੀ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਅਟੈਚਡ ਵਿਦ ਦੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ। ਆਈ ਸੈਡ ਨੋ, ਆਈ ਹੈਵ ਨਾਟ ਰਿਸੀਵ ਦੀ। ਸੋ ਦੀ ਕੋਰਟ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਈਮੇਲ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਹੈਗੇ। ਮੈਂ ਈਮੇਲ ਕਰਤੇ, 2 ਮੰਥਸ ਦੀ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਲੈ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ। ਫਿਰ ਲਾਸਟ ਡੇਟ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕੇ ਜੀ ਅਰੇਂਜ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਹਾਰਡ ਡਿਸਕ ਵੀ ਆ, CD DVDs ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਮੰਗੀਆਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਰਾਈਟ ਆ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਅਕਿਊਜ਼ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣ, ਜੇ ਕੋਈ CD ਉਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ। ਸੋ ਦੇਖੋ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਕਿਤੇ ਰਿਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਣਾ। ਉਹ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਉਹ ਵੈਬਐਕਸ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ VC ਸੀ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ NIA ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਹੈ, ਪਬਲਿਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਕਿਊਟਰ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਫੰਡਸ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੇ ਅਕਿਊਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਤੇ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਾਰਡ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ DVD ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹਦੀਆਂ ਕਾਪੀਆਂ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਸੋ ਕੋਰਟ ਜੱਜ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੱਸੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੈਟਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਐਡਮਿਨਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਹੈਗਾ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਨੇ ਕੇਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ 4 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਨਵਿਕਟ ਕੀਤਾ, 2 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਓਵਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਅੰਦਰ। ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਪੀ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਉਹ 'ਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਸਰਨ ਆਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ 4 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਇਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ 4 ਕਾਪੀਜ਼ ਦਿਓ, ਹਰੇਕ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਅਪੀਲ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਲਾਉਣੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨਰੀ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 4 ਕਾਪੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ 1 ਕਾਪੀ ਲੈ ਲਓ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਵਕੀਲ ਹੋ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਅਦਾਲਤਾਂ ਦੇ। ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਤਾਂ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਕੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਫਾਈਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਦੀਆਂ ਕਾਪੀਆਂ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਵੀ, ਜਾਂ ਜਜਮੈਂਟ ਆਰਡਰ ਵੀ ਈਵਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਜ਼ ਪਰ ਰੂਲ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਜਰ ਕੋਲ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਆਫ ਕਾਸਟ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਉਹਦਾ ਅਕਿਊਜ਼ ਦਾ ਰਾਈਟ ਆ, ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਕਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਕਰਨ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨਰੀ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨਰੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀ। ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਨਸਾਫ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਬਹੁਤ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਿਲ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਲੈਣ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਲੰਮਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਸੋ ਅਡਜਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਵਾਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵਨ ਐਂਡ ਅਨਦਰ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਜੱਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰ NIA ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਅਡਜਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਈ, ਮੈਂ ਕਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਅਡਜਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਮੰਗੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗੇ ਨਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਓਨਸ ਵੇ ਅਕਿਊਜ਼ ਤੇ ਪਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੇਸ ਲੇਟ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਵੀ ਡੇਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਅਡਜਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗੀ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਨੇ ਅਡਜਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਮੰਗੀ। ਅਡਜਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ NIA ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਵੈਨ ਅਨਦਰ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕੋਰਟ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਹੁਣ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਕਰਕੇ ਤਾਂ 8 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲਗਾ ਹੀ ਲਏ।
ਜਸਵੀਰ, ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਐਡ ਇਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜਿਸ ਭਾਜੀ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਆ, the question you asked was how do you prepare for the cases? ਭਾਜੀ 1.5 ਸਾਲ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਮਈ 2018 ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਪੇਅਰਡ ਆ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਚਾਰਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਪੂਰੇ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਤੇ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਿਆਰ ਆ। ਸੋ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਰੈਡੀ, ਆਵਰ ਲੀਗਲ ਟੀਮ, ਭਾਜੀ Manjpura's, ਕਿ to argument, so basically the procedure being that they've produced a charge sheet. The judge still has to frame charges which haven't been framed. So Paji is ready to have oral representation on it. He's ready to give written representations. So ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜੇ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਹੀਏ, ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖੇ ਵੀ ਆਰਡਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਵੀ ਆ, ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਕੇ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਈਫ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਵਾਲੀ ਤਰੀਕ ਪਈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਅਪਸੈਟ ਹੋਈ ਸਵੇਰ ਨੂੰ, ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੂੰਹ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਵਾ ਕਿ ਤਰੀਕ ਆ ਗਈ ਹੁਣ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਜੱਜ ਨੇ 50 ਦਿਨ ਦੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਪਾਤੀ। So basically Jaggi's wife at the last Delhi hearing was saying that we were waiting for the hearing to come forward and something actively going to happen with the case, and the judges fixed it 50 days later. So nothing happened during that whole process. What's embarrassing was out of that was where the judge, so the NIA have said they don't have the funds to provide the defense with prosecution evidence. That is embarrassing.
That just sounds very strange to for like people in the West to used to a different style of judicial system to even comprehend that they're saying they don't have the funds to carry through their case.
What's more embarrassing just is 3 years on, and now you're saying we don't have the funds to give the evidence, whereas on the 7th of November, Captain Amarinder Singh said that that's 2017, that we have all evidence against Jaggi. Paji ne ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ on the trial case that's going on, and they said we don't know what Captain Amarinder Singh said. That's a investigating officer that has made given this evidence and his cross-examination. So I just wanted to add in that it's not our side and not our legal team. Wherever we've wanted to, Paji has been open. When we need a Supreme Court lawyer, he says, Gurpreet Paji, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਵਾ, ਇੱਥੇ ਕਰ ਲਓ। ਭਾਜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਹ ਕੋਰਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿਤੀ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਲਾਉਣ ਅੱਗੇ for the last 2 cases. We need to discuss with the Supreme Court lawyers, so we've got a caveat in place, so we are notified. And each time the NIA have lied to the judge. They had said that they had put a transfer request in for the final 2 cases for the last 6 to 8 months. And then Paji just said to them, goes, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਪਾਤੀ ਆ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੂਫ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਪਾਈ ਆ, ਨਾਲੇ ਜੱਜ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੰਮੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੀ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਆ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ। ਸੋ ਐਂਡ ਆਫ ਦ ਡੇ ਗੱਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਸੀ, UK ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ, the UK government thought that the Indians had replied to them and saying something active is going to happen with Jaggi's case. As a result of that case, what will happen is the cases will start moving forward. I contacted the FCDO and I said, well, something exceptional has happened. The NIA have confirmed that they don't have the funds to provide the defense with prosecution evidence. So how embarrassing is that? So again, it was just to touch upon what Paji has said. Legally, he's prepared. He's been prepared since May 2018. Another thing to note from that is in May 2018, we were at the Free Jaggi Now campaign was in Geneva. ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਪਿਆ, ਉਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਲਦਬਾਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਚਾਰਜਸ਼ੀਟ, ਤੇ ਉਹੋ ਹੀ ਚਾਰਜਸ਼ੀਟ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਭਾਜੀ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਚਾਰਜਸ਼ੀਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੇਸ ਚੱਲਣ ਡਿਆ ਬਾਘੇ ਪੁਰਾਣਾ ਨਾਲ, ਤੇ ਉਸ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਕਾਪੀ ਬਿੰਦੀ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਆਈ ਜਸਟ ਵਾਂਟਡ ਟੂ ਐਡ ਇਨ ਜੋ ਭਾਜੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜੋ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਟੇਜ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਲਾਹ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ
ਅੱਜ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਅੱਜ ਸੇ
Sorry, I just put someone on mute right now. Just give me a second.
ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਪੜਿਆ ਸੀ
ਆਹੋ
Okay, there we go. Okay, before we move on to the next question,
before you do that, if you don't mind, if anyone has any more questions of Paji or a message from Paji, because it's now what 12 o'clock nearly in India, and he's in Mohali in the morning for Jaggi's case.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So if anyone does have any questions, I'll put this on YouTube as well. Any questions for Manjpur Sabji, please do ask. Put them in the chat. You can direct them to us. I'll put that on Twitter. If we just leave that open for the next 10 minutes, would that be all right? And then we'll see if any questions come in. And I'll direct any questions we have towards Manjpur Sag as well. Whilst we still have him on the call, we don't want to take too much of his time while it's so late there, as you said. Manjpur Sahib ji, ਕੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੌਂਸੂਲੇਟ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਕੇਸ ਮਦਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ?
ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਵੇਟ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈ ਸਕੇ। ਉਹ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਰਿਮਾਂਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੂਸਲੇ ਨਾਮੀ ਸੀ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਹਾਈ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਆਫਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਪਰਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਜੱਜ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਊਰਿੰਗ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਰਿਮਾਂਡ ਹੀ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਸੀ ਲੁਧਿਆਣੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਵੀ ਕੌਣ ਆ। ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਹਾਈ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਆ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਜੱਜ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸੈਪਰੇਟਲੀ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ I don't want to interfere in the proceeding of court, but I want my citizen in separately. Court ने order करता भी separate meeting, पर वो secure नहीं कर सके separate meeting. पुलिस ने की किया उन्होंने separate meeting ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ separate room ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ order ਕੀਤਾ order ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਬੂਸਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ separate room ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਿਠਾਓ। ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਕ room ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਸੀ 4 ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਾਲੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਦੂਜੇ ਰੂਮ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸੈਪਰੇਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੈਪਰੇਟ ਰੂਮ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਕਮਰਾ ਪਰ ਇਨ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਸ ਆਫ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਆਫੀਸ਼ਲ। ਸੋ ਸੈਪਰੇਟ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਲੈ ਸਕੇ। ਠੀਕ ਆ ਉਹ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਰਹੇ। ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਆ ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਮਿਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ। ਅਸਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਉਦੋਂ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਸਟੈਂਟਲੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਕਸਟਰਨਲ ਅਫੇਅਰ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰੀ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਜਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸੀ, ਇੰਟਰਫੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਉਸੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਦੇ ਮੈਥਡ ਆ ਇਹ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ। ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ 19 ਤਰੀਕ ਨੂੰ 19 ਨਵੰਬਰ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਫਿਰ ਬਾਗੇ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਭੇਜਤਾ ਫਰੀਦਕੋਟ ਤੇ ਰਾਤ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲੁਧਿਆਣੇ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਮਾਂਡ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਮੈਂ ਰਾਤ ਖੜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਆ। ਰਾਤ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਸੀ 8:30 ਫਿਰ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੱਗੀ। ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਜਰ ਇਹ ਆ ਵੀ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਕਹੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਲਿਆਓ ਦਿਖਾਓ ਬੰਦਾ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਲਿਆਓ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ। ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਤਾ ਵਕੀਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਗੇਟ ਦੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਡਿੰਗ ਹੋਈ। ਕੋਰਟ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਰਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਹਾਊਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਡਿੰਗ ਹੋਈ। ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਨਾਈਟ ਸੂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਆਈ। ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਵਕੀਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਮਿਲ ਲਓ ਨਾਲੇ ਪਾਵਰ ਆਫ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਕਾਲਤਨਾਮਾ ਉਹ ਸਾਈਨ ਕਰਾ ਲਓ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਡੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਗਿਆ। ਜੱਗੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਵੀ ਮੰਜਪੁਰ ਤੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੈਗਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਹਾਂ ਭਰਾ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ 6 ਵਜੇ ਦਾ ਖੜਾ ਇੱਥੇ। ਤੋ ਸੋ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਨੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਤਕੱਲਫ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ। ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਝੋ ਵੀ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ। ਤੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਹਾਈ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਆਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਖਾਸ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਤਰੱਦਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ। ਹਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਚਲਾ ਗਿਆ ਉੱਥੇ 15-20 ਦਿਨਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਲੈਂਦੇ। ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਮਾਨ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹ ਦੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ। ਹਾਂ ਹਰੇਕ ਕੋਰਟ ਅਪੀਅਰੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਮੋਹਾਲੀ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਡੇਟ ਆ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਦੁਪਹਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ WhatsApp ਜਾਂ ਕਾਲ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਅੱਜ, ਜੋ ਹੋਇਆ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ। ਪਰ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਉਹ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਸੀ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਲਟਾ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਰਕਲ ਸੀਗਾ, ਫਰੈਂਡ ਸਰਕਲ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਗਤੀਵਿਧੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਰਕਲ ਸੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਦੀਪਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਇੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀ ਜੱਗੀ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਫੋਟੋਆਂ ਦਿਖਾਈਆਂ ਕੁਛ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਉਹ, ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਸਾਥੀ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਸਰਕਲ ਸੀ UK ਦੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਉਹ, ਵੀ ਆਹ ਬੰਦੇ ਕੌਣ ਆ, ਤੇਰੇ ਕੀ ਲਿੰਕ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਹਾਈ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਲਿੰਕ ਸਾਬਤ ਹੋਇਆ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਤੇ UK ਏਜੰਸੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਬੂਸਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹੀਆਂ ਜੱਗੀ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਤੇ ਪਰ ਉਹਨੇ ਬੂਸਲੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਉਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ UK ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇੰਟੀਮੇਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਟਾਈਮਲੀ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਸਕਿਆ। ਭਾਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਯੂਥ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਈਡ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਕਸਟ੍ਰੀਮ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ ਜੇ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਟੌਰਚਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਛੁਪਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਹਾਈ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਆਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲਸ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਵੀ ਹੱਥ ਰਿਹਾ। ਹੁਣ ਕੁਛ ਕੋਆਪਰੇਟਿਵ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਕਰ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ, ਉਹ ਮਿਲ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ, ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ। ਸੋ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਸੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੁਛ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਫੇਲ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸਹੀ ਤਾਲਮੇਲ ਨਾ ਹੋਣ ਦੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਕਰਕੇ।
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ। ਹੋਰ question ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ, just very quickly I'm going to bring in Deepa Singh. Deepa Singh, you are someone that has been embroiled in a long-running issue, which I'm just going to quickly summarize. So in 2018 September, the houses of 5 Singhs in the UK were raided, and subsequently, I believe the next day, or in fact the very same day, Indian media reported that these Sikhs were raided because of a link they had to Jagdar Singh Johal. The West Midlands police were singled out as working on behalf of Indian state direction. I think the term they used was diplomatic pressure was applied on British authorities such as the police, and they worked at the hand of the Indian state there. Just very quickly, what is your, as much as you can say, given any legal implications, what is your perception of kind of how things unfolded there in regards to your connection with supporting the Free Jaggi Now campaign as an activist, to then yourself being accused of something else when it comes to supporting Jaggi and being connecting with him?
Yeah, it's interesting. And to sum it up, there is a collusion, and that's the key word. It is a massive collusion. It's not recent, it's ongoing from the 80s, 90s, in fact, as well. There was a high-profile case called Karanjit Singh Chahal, which was passed in the High Court cases here, and he was in remand for 5 to 6 years, I believe, before they freed him, and they didn't let him go back home. But initially, they were trying to extradite him. But he was actually born there, but they gave him stay here, which was a massive victory for the Sikh community then. This one, if you look at Jaggi's case, like Jaspal Singh Manchwar just said, that pictures were shown of activists, including ourselves, myself as well as many others, to Jaggi while under torture. Now, this is very interesting because some of the pictures that were shown, they've been taken here. This is like an intelligence from the agencies, intel from, counterterrorism police and whatnot. So the raids, they've said that have been put pressure on by India to UK. So when the raids happened, there was, there was interest in what they were looking for. They took a documentary we were doing on Jaggi. They took that from our house, from my property. I can speak on from my property. I won't want to speak on anyone else's, but most of them have been put public. So I would say the documentary on Jaggi was took from our house. Never Forget 84 literature was taken, Jaggi campaign. If you remember, one of the properties that was raided of mine, this is where we led the Jaggi campaign from. Most of the stuff was from there. So a lot of the Never Forget 84, anything to do with Sikh activism was taken, and it was really, I've never seen a raid like this in my life, because they didn't know what they were picking up. They were taking pictures, at some of the houses in the UK, there was Punjab police present. There's so much that went on at that time, and people tend to think that, UK police will be helpful, when in fact they actually undermined Sikhs, they undermined the Sikh community, and they actually went on and raided the 5 houses here. Not only from that, they've continued the collusion, they've pressed charges, and obviously we've got ongoing legal case, which I can't go into too much, but you know, this collusion has continued. Straight away, there's been government reports done on Sikhs, Sikh extremism, there's been extradition talks, there's been people who have been stopped going to Nankana Sahib, who are part of the campaign for 550 Gurpurb, whose passports have been taken off them and they have been refused to leave the country. You know, there's so much pressure being put on by India to UK, and UK, you know, complying and doing that pressure for them. You know, it's if the average Joe would not believe this, but it's unbelievable. The spying, the intelligence that goes on. Some of the Sikhs and the Sikh activists have MI5 contacting them, following them, you know, being spied on, being chased by police, their house is bugged, surveillance being done. Like it's honestly, it is to another level, all because of Sikh activism. And I just want to bring up something like, obviously before yesterday, there was a massive online noise about the censorship which went on Sikhs. And this is 4 days into the genocide week. The night before that, we're meant to do a massive show on the Jaggi Awareness Week starts. So it's really important that we remember what sort of stuff that's going on. And this isn't normal, but this was, if you look at why the censorship thing happened yesterday online, one is the night before the Jaggi thing. Second, the Never Forget 84 hashtag gets used immensely this week because of Genocide Week. So that's that. And third, if we look at what they were doing, like some of our posts from grooming were taken down. Yeah, I did a video, we did a screening of Misused Trust at BCU. That was taken down. That has nothing to do with 1984. And people need to realize, we were on about censorship a few years ago when Ofcom complained about a film we did, Misused Trust. Yeah, so censorship, Sikhs have been targeted from day one. What I would say is this isn't about one individual thing. This is about targeting of Sikh activists. And that's what we need to get to. When we realize that, we'll get further. It's not about an individual issue. It's about targeting of Sikh activists and trying to silence the Sikh voices. And
it does seem, even from my view, that what is really being clamped down on is growing influence of what I would call Panthic-minded organizations that are galvanizing younger Sikhs to actually take up issues for themselves and you know, build our own structures and dealing with our own issues. Manjpal Sahibji, I want to put this question to you as well. Just very quickly, a couple of points on what Deepa was talking about. World-renowned human rights lawyer Gareth Peirce, one of the most famous from the UK and in the world when it comes to dealing with human rights issues, she actually said openly in a parliament event that there's a paper trail which shows that the issue of the raids that were carried out on the Singhs in the UK goes back to Jaggi's torture. She's on video saying that there's a paper trail which shows that. Furthermore, the Indian media printed the names of some of these individuals, including Deepa Singh, that were raided. From our investigation, speaking to our police contacts, there's no way Indian media could have got that information unless that information was provided to them by the British police. So that is just clear evidence of collusion. The final thing I want to say is regarding the Sikh extremism report, which came out, pushed by the government. It was a government credentialized report. I won't name the authors, but one of the authors just weeks before was pictured visiting Captain Amarinder, who is the Chief Minister of Punjab. He is very famous for his hyperbolic reactions or statements about Sikh extremism. He has gone on record to even call Harjit Singh Sajjan, the Defense Minister of Canada, a Sikh extremist for simply talking about issues like the 1984 Sikh genocide. So when it comes to his views on Sikh extremism and how that might have influenced somebody who was an author of a report on Sikh extremism, you can build your own image. And if anyone wants to discuss that further regarding that conflict of interest, I'm more than happy to. I'm not naming the authors because they just don't want to publicly discuss, the issues that I bring up here. But if they ever did, we're more than welcome to discussing that. Manjpal Sahibji, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇਹ collusion ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, and how is it influencing the case of Jaggi situation right now?
ਦੇਖੋ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੇ ਕੇਸ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਟ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਉੱਥੇ, ਲੱਗਦਾ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਭਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ, ਦਵਿੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਭਾਈ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲੇ ਸੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ। ਤੇ ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੇਡਾਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਕਨਕਲੂਜਨ ਨਿਕਲਿਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ NIA ਦੇ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਾਈਲ ਕਰਤੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ 7 ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ, ਇੱਕ ਜਗਦੀਸ਼ ਗਗਨੇਜਾ ਮਰਡਰ ਕੇਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਪਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ। ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਭਾਈ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ 7 ਨਵੰਬਰ ਨੂੰ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਜਗਦੀਸ਼ ਗਗਨੇਜਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ RSS ਦਾ ਚੀਫ ਸੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਮਰਡਰ ਕੇਸ ਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਬੰਦੇ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਇਨਵੋਲਵ ਆ, ਪਰ ਫਾਰਮਲੀ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਈ ਨਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ, ਨਾ CBI ਨੇ, ਨਾ NIA ਨੇ। ਉਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਨ ਦੀ ਮੀਨ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਚਲਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈਆਂ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਨਪੁਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬਾਹਰਲੀਆਂ ਗੌਰਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ MLRT ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੰਗੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਰੇਡਸ ਪਈਆਂ ਉਹ ਜਗਦੀਸ਼ ਗਗਨੇਜਾ ਮਰਡਰ ਕੇਸ ਦੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਪਈਆਂ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਭਿਆ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਉਹਦੀ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਲਗਭਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਪਾਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ, ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਬਾਕੀ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਦਸੰਬਰ ਜਨਵਰੀ 2017-18 ਚ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਪੈ ਗਈ। ਜਗਦੀਸ਼ ਗਗਨੇਜਾ ਵਾਲੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਲਾਈ ਫਿਰ ਅਪ੍ਰੈਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਦੱਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਜ਼ ਪਰ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਕੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੋਮੀਨੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਰਮਲ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕਰੋ, ਸਾਡਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਡ ਔਨ ਕਰੋ ਕੇਸ। ਫਿਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਵੀ ਅਪ੍ਰੈਲ 2018 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ, ਨਾ ਜਗਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਾਂ ਦੂਜੇ ਹਰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ, ਰਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਲਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਤਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਨੋਮੀਨੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ। ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਰੇਡਸ ਪਈਆਂ UK ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਲੈ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ 180 ਡੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਫਾਈਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਗਦੀਸ਼ ਗਗਨੇਜਾ ਮਰਡਰ ਕੇਸ ਦੀ ਫਾਰਮਲ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਈ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ 6 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜੇ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਗਾ ਦਈਏ, ਫਿਰ 6 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਟਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਮਿਲ ਜੂਗਾ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਫਾਈਲ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ। ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਰੇਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਾਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ, ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਇਹ ਆ ਵੀ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਇਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਸੱਜਣ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਸੀ, ਅੱਜ ਉਹੀ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਨਾ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਹਿੱਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਸ਼ ਭਗਤ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਗਦਾਰ ਕਿਉਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹੋ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਰੇਲਾਂ ਰੋਕਤੀਆਂ, ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਾਊਥ ਪੀਸ ਬਣਿਆ ਸੀ, ਅੱਜ ਆਪ ਉਹ ਮਜਬੂਰ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਰਾਜਘਾਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਨਾ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਬੈਠੀ ਹੋਈ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਸੋ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਇਹੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਸਟੇਟ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਤਰਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਤਰਸ ਦੇ ਕਾਬਲ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹੀਆਂ। ਇੱਕ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਆਫ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤਰਲੇ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਪਿਆ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸੈਂਟਰਲਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੇ ਹੱਥੋਂ, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸਿਸ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਾਵਨਾ ਖਤਮ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਨਿਊ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਥਾਂ 'ਚ ਰੱਖ ਰਹੀ ਆ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੱਗੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਹੀ ਆ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀਆਂ ਜੇਲ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੁਪਰਡੈਂਟ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਸੁਪਰਡੈਂਟ ਹੋਵੇ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ CRP ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਮਾਂਡਿੰਗ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਜਾਂ ਡਿਪਟੀ ਕਮਾਂਡਿੰਗ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹੀ ਲਗਾਏ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ, ਪੰਜਾਬ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਗਾਏ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ। ਸੋ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸ਼ਿਕੰਜੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਤੇ ਜੱਗੀ ਵਾਲਾ ਕੇਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਲੇਟ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਜੱਗੀ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਯੂਥ ਬਾਹਰ ਬੋਰਨ ਆ, ਜਿੰਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ 80ਵਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੋਰਨ ਅਬਰੋਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੰਮੇ ਆ, ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਲੇ ਆ ਖੁੱਲੇ 'ਚ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਿਤਾ ਪੁਰਖੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਾਂ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵਾਪਰਿਆ, ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਜਰਬੇ ਚੋਂ ਲਿਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੁਣ ਜੱਗੀ ਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ 17 ਜਾਂ 15 ਨਵੰਬਰ 2017 ਦੀ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਟਾਈਮਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਏਜੰਸੀ ਦੇ ਬਿਹਾਫ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਖਬਰ ਲੱਗੀ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਜਗਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੌਹਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ 1 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਨਿਗਾਹ ਸੀਗੀ। ਸੋ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਲੱਗਦੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਪੁਟਸ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਖੋਜ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਡਿਸਕਵਰੀ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ, ਉਹ ਏਜੰਸੀ ਜੀ ਲਵਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ 1 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਕੈਨ ਸਰਵੇਲੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀਗਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਹੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੜਿਆ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਆ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਲੰਬੀ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਜਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਵੀ ਜਰਮਨ ਕੌਂਸਲੇਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸੂਚੀਆਂ ਬਣਾਓ, ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਹੈਗਾ, ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਜਾਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੰਟਰਫੇਰੈਂਸ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਪਸੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਮੰਡੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਕੈਪੀਟਲਿਸਟ ਮੁਲਕ ਹੈਗੇ, ਯੂਕੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਜਾਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਮੰਡੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਲਿੰਕ ਹੈਗੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਹੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਦਾ ਲੈਣ ਦੇਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਛੱਡੀ। ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਜੱਗੀ ਵਾਲਾ ਕੇਸ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਸਟੀਜ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਬਣਾ ਲਿਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਡਿਲੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇ ਲਈ, ਪਰ ਲਾਸਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕੁ ਡਿਲੇ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਗੇ? 3 ਸਾਲ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਆ, ਹੁਣ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਬਹਾਨਾ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ। ਹੁਣ ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਤਾਂ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ ਕੇਸ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਇੰਨਾ ਧੱਕਾ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਧੱਕਾ ਹੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੁਣ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਜੱਗੀ ਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਬਰੋਡ, ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੋਰਨ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਆ, ਕਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਵਾਇਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ। ਉਹ ਜੱਗੀ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਾਡਲ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਰੱਖਤਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਦਹਿਸ਼ਤ ਦਾ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ। ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਆਉਣ ਦਾ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੀਏ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਲਾਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਰੱਦ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਜੱਗੀ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਏ। ਇਹੀ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਉਹ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ। ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਸੱਜਣ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਸੀਗਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜੇ ਵਾਲੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਚਾ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ, ਹਨਾ, ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਿਤਾ ਪੁਰਖੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਉਹ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਜੇ ਸੱਜਣ ਜੇ ਫੌਜੀ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਹਾਈ ਰੈਂਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀ, ਸੋ ਫੌਜੀ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਲੂਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਰਾਜਾ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਸੋ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਈਗੋ ਵੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਤੇ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਦਿਖਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹਿੱਤੂ ਹੈਗਾ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਦਾ। ਪਰ ਉਹੀ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅੱਜ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਲਕੜੀਆਂ ਕੱਢਦਾ ਪਿਆ। ਜੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਖੜ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਸਟੇਟ ਦਾ ਹੱਥ ਟੋਕਾ ਨਾ ਬਣਦਾ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਇਹ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਦੇਖਣੇ ਪੈਣੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਸੀ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਸੰਬੰਧ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਡਿਪੈਂਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੀਲਿੰਗ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਇਕਨੋਮੀ ਫੈਕਟਰ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਹੋਮ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਨੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਸੀ ਯੂਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਉੱਠੀ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੇ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਟ੍ਰੇਡ ਡੀਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੱਗੀ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਤੋਲਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਦੇ ਗਰਭ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਏ ਹੈਗੇ।
Anwar ji. Gurpreet, if there's anything you want to summarize further from that, but I do have a couple more questions for Manjpur Saab before we go, before we let him go, sorry. But I think
just to add into that, just add into that, just read. So the question being, the UK government keeps saying that they're raising Jaggi's case. It wasn't until recently that they actually confirmed that they've had unsatisfactory responses from the Indian government, which means they've even wrote that they've written over 50 times and raised Jaggi's case with the highest officials. What that proves is that India are not replying, but UK don't really care. So this shows some part of collusion there. What they didn't realize was that Jaggi's case has the Sikh community behind it. So it's not a community that can be easily silenced. It's a community that will stand up for injustices. Yes, in the UK, we've been known as the people that give the langar, we give out the food, and we're the nice people there. But we also, our gurus have taught us about standing up for injustices. When they try to silence the Sikh voices for the campaigning, whereas hand on heart, where we can speak today is, Deepa used his social media platform, which he spent years building, to be Jaggi's voice. Every single person on the 9th of November 2017, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, were all seeing Jaggi. I looked at my Facebook thinking, because I went to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got a call from Jaggi's wife at that time. What's going on, what we're doing. So I was constantly on the go. And what I seen was around the world, the campaign was going. We want so Captain Amarinder Singh said that all we're doing is collecting funds. We want collecting funds. When we weren't collecting funds, that shot him in the foot, because he couldn't say that anymore. The campaign was rising on a daily basis. What we highlighted through the Sikh media channels that covered it was what Paji has said, that Jaggi's case has given them a model example of what happens in India. When Jaggi had a bag over his head and brought into court, a black bag, that was embarrassing on an international level. How quickly did the Sangat, the followers, chase up behind this, and they stopped having to do that? So this is what happens in normal in India, but what this case, as Paji has said, has shown to the world that this is what happens to minorities in India. So I think if ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਸੇਵਾ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਐਂਡ ਆਫ ਦ ਡੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸੇਵਾ ਲੱਗੀ ਸੀ ਜੱਗੀ ਨੇ ਕੁੱਟ ਖਾਣੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਲਾਊਡ ਸਪੀਕਰ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਸੀ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਬੰਦ ਆ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਉਹਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਣੇ ਆ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਾਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਇੰਨਾ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਮਾਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਵਾ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਵਾ ਤੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਹੋਈ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਮਗਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜੱਗੀ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਸਰੂਪ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੋ just to add on to what Paji had said was this is what happens in India but we've highlighted it for Jaggi's case. We've been open, we've said there's no openness, there's no due process and there's no transparency, which is clear. From day one, we have said, present the evidence and proceed with the case. It hasn't happened. So what did India then do? India know that the UK need them for trade deals. Now they've put in the pressure on the UK government to put pressure on Sikh activists, whether it's from trying to silence Deepa, other activists. What's happened realistically is that from Deepa, the stuff I've got to learn over the last 3 years, it's been very hard for them to decriminalize me. And the reason that has been because I'm a qualified solicitor. When people are talking and they see my point or what I'm raising, like what Julie said, is how do I remain calm? How do I speak? It's just Sangat Ardasa are giving you that prosa, that giving you that pyar, that you have to be humble with everything. Because without them, we would have been nothing. The family wouldn't have had any support. We would have been fighting this corner of ourselves. But what we are seeing is the collusion aspect of it. The Tory government, Rees, whatever his name is, said in the government and Parliament that Margaret Thatcher was a great woman at the time. So when it came to the 1984, so we're seeing the same Tory government again, 36 years on. We've seen the pictures, we've seen the censorship. One day before the Jaggi Awareness Week is supposed to start, COVID has stopped a lot of things, but one day before, a lot of Facebook pages being blocked off, Instagram being blocked off, Deepa's Sikh Youth UK page is being blocked off. Everybody knows one of the prominent voices in Jaggi's campaign has been Sikh Youth UK, because Sikh Youth UK have not went back and said, they've said, we're going to support this. It's our job to raise the awareness, raise injustices that are taking place, because that's the seva that Maharaj has given him. Deepa, I've phoned him, messaged him at whatever time he's there. We've seen him in the grooming aspect of it. So again, sorry, I went too long, but I think what the point of it is that Sikh activists are being suppressed, and it was in India previously, but now they're doing it in the UK to a worldwide effect, which is embarrassing that the UK government are involved in this, especially when there is a freedom of speech. We should be allowed to fight for injustices.
Yeah, and there is lots of evidence of this. I'm just going to put the last two questions to Manjpur Saab very quickly, and then we can let him go because it is very late for him. Manjpur Saab, ਪਹਿਲਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ 1984 ਬਾਰੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਿੱਖ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਜ਼ਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ whether it's UK, Canada, Australia, wherever, ਕੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਲਈ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੈ?
ਦੇਖੋ ਸਿੱਧੇ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਦੇ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਤਰਾ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੋਕਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜੋ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਇਆ, ਹੁਣ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਜਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਮਿਨੋਰਟੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੱਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੋਲਣਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਓ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਾ ਲੇਖਕ ਵੀ ਕਵੀ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਲੈਫਟਿਸਟ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਨਲਾਫੁਲ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਵੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਲਾ ਕੇ 2-2 3-3 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਜੇਲ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੰਦ ਆ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੈਗੇ, ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਰਜਾਈਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਲਾਹ ਦਊਂਗਾ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵੋਕਲ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਪੁੱਛਗਿੱਛ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਸੈਂਪਥੀ ਕਾਜ਼ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ 5-10 ਹਜ਼ਾਰ ਰੁਪਈਏ ਭੇਜੇ, ਹੁਣ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੈਸੇ ਹੀ ਸਕੈਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ, ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਜੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ NGOs ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਬਲੈਕ ਲਿਸਟ ਕਰਤੀਆਂ। ਈਵਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੋਸਟ ਵੀ ਪਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਭਾਜੀ ਨੇ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਪਿਛਲੇ 2-3 ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੇਜਿਸ ਆ ਜਾਂ 84 ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੈਨਿਸ਼ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਬਲੌਕ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀ ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਭੇਜੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ, ਦੁਬਾਰੇ ਉਹ ਆ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਕਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਆ ਗਏ। ਕਈ ਸਾਈਟਸ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਿਆਸਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਡਿਸਪਲੇ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ, ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਬਲੌਕ ਆ। ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਜੋ ਬਣਾਏ ਹੋ ਰੂਲ ਰੈਗੂਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਿਯੋਂਡ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੰਮ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਰਜਾਈਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਸ ਹੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪਰਦਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ, ਹੁਣ ਪਰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ। ਹੁਣ ਨੰਗੇ ਚਿੱਟੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ, ਗੱਲ ਤੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਹਟਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਪਰ ਅਵੋਇਡ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਣ ਤੋਂ।
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ। ਲਾਸਟ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਖਿਆਲ ਆ, ਕਿੱਧਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ?
ਦੇਖੋ ਕੇਸ ਤਾਂ ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਕੇਸ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ 3 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹ ਚੋਂ ਬੰਦੇ 3 ਬਰੀ ਹੋ ਗਏ, 2 ਨੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਟ ਲਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਕੇਸ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਅਨਲਾਫੁਲ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਵੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, 99% ਕੇਸ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਕੁਟਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਅਨਲਾਫੁਲ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਵੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ। ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਕਵਰੀ ਆ, ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਦੇਸੀ ਪਿਸਤੌਲ ਆ, 3 ਸਾਲ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਕਨਵਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ 5 ਸਾਲ 10 ਸਾਲ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਅੱਜ ਹੋ ਗਈ। ਸੋ ਜੱਗੀ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਰਿਕਵਰੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੀ, ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਰਸੀਦ ਆ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੀ, ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਏਡ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ, ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੈਪਨ ਦੀ ਰਿਕਵਰੀ ਆ, ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਉਹਨੇ ਡਿਸਕਲੋਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਦੀ ਕਨਫੈਸ਼ਨ ਆ। ਸੋ ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਤਾਂ ਕੁਟਲ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਹੈਗਾ। ਹਾਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ। ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ 2 ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੱਗੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੋਵੇ, ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਸਾਲ ਵੀ ਲੱਗ ਜੇ। ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਮੂੰਹ ਚੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹਨਾ। ਸੋ ਸਮਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ। ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੇਸ ਆ, ਜੇ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਕੁਟਲ ਵਾਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਉਹ 'ਚ ਕੋਈ ਮਤਲਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਐਵੀਡੈਂਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਓਨਲੀ ਅ ਸਿੰਗਲ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਉਹਦੇ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਡਰ 25 ਆਫ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਐਵੀਡੈਂਸ ਐਕਟ ਡਿਸਕਲੋਜ਼ਰ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਜੱਗੀ ਦੀ, ਜਿਹੜੀ 25 ਐਵੀਡੈਂਸ ਐਕਟ ਹੀ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਨਾਟ ਐਡਮਿਸਿਬਲ ਇਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਰਟ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਐਡਮਿਸਿਬਲ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ। ਉਹ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਫੋਟੋ ਸਟੇਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ। ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ 'ਚ ਚਾਰਜ ਫਰੇਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈਓ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਿਨ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕ੍ਰਾਸ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਆ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਇਨਕ੍ਰੀਮੀਨੇਟਿੰਗ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਥਿੰਗ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਰਿਕਵਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ। ਸੋ ਆਈਓ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਨਿੱਕੇ ਗਵਾਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਉਹੀ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਬਾਕੀ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ। ਫਰੀਦਕੋਟ ਵਾਲੇ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਉਹੀ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਸੀ, ਉਸ ਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਡਬਲ ਜਿਓਪਾਰਡੀ ਦੇ ਬੇਸਿਸ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਡਿਸਚਾਰਜ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਇਹੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਬਾਕੀ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਦੀ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਜੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਚਾਰਜ ਡਿਸਚਾਰਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਚਾਰਜ ਫਰੇਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸੇ ਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਤੇ ਬੇਲ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ, ਇਸੇ ਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੇਸ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਾਈਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਹਾਂ ਇਨ ਦੀ ਮੀਨ ਟਾਈਮ ਕੋਈ ਉਹ ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਸ਼ੀਟ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਮੈਟਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਕੋਈ ਨਵੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਪਰ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ 3 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਮ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਪੇਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ #free ਜੱਗੀ ਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ no evidence till date, ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੋਈ ਕਨਵਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ। ਹੁਣ 3 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਕੇਸ ਚਲਾਉਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਡਿਊਰਿੰਗ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਾਬਰੀ ਮਸਜਿਦ ਡਿਮੋਲਿਸ਼ ਕੇਸ ਸੀਗਾ, 22-23 ਬੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਹ 'ਚ ਬੀਜੇਪੀ ਦੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਸੀ। ਉਹ ਅਪ੍ਰੈਲ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੱਕ ਹਰੇਕ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦੀਆਂ 20-22 ਤਰੀਕਾਂ ਪਾਈਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੀਕਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਐਵੀਡੈਂਸ ਕੰਕਲੂਡ ਹੋਇਆ, ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਆਫ ਅਕਿਊਜ਼ ਹੋਈ, ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਹੋਈ, ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਹੋਇਆ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਅਕਿਊਟ ਹੋਇਆ ਕੇਸ। ਉਹ CBI ਦੀ ਕੋਰਟ ਹੀ ਸੀ ਲਖਨਊ ਦੀ। ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਹੀ ਆ। ਇੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਡਿਲੇ ਕੀਤਾ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਅੱਜ ਕੇਸ ਅਕਿਊਟ ਹੋਇਆ, ਇਹਦੀ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਐਜ਼ ਪਰ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਹਰਿਆਣਾ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ। ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਇਆ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹ ਡਿਸਾਈਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੇਸ ਸਟੇਟ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲਿੰਗਰ ਆਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਦਾ ਪਰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੀ ਆ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲਿੰਗਰ ਆਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਪਰ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਗੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ।
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ। So I think in summary, Gurpreet can go over, but essentially we don't know how long it will take. Could be 2 months, could be 2 years, but the cases, the defense led by Manjpur Sahab are confident of dealing with the cases put against Jaggi. Manjpur Sahab, बहुत मेहरबानी तुसी साडे लिए समा कढिया, so धन्यवाद, thank you very much for your time. जे तुसी हम जाना पैना, that's completely fine, so thank you for your time. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. Considering the time in India there, so it is very late for Bhai Sahab, who has a case in the morning to adhere to. So Gurpreet, is there anything from what Manjpur Sahab said that you want to summarize or go over again?
Sorry, I think what Paji said is the Indians haven't presented any evidence, and as soon as it comes on to argument of charges, framing of charges, we are ready. And it'll be, if the judge looks at it by law, then Jaggi should be acquitted and be back home. And Paji's been looking at all the papers, all the charge sheets that came in. He's fully versed with everything that's going on with the case. So we fully appreciate his support as a legal rep in this case and everything he's doing. The other thing is, he's mentioned himself today. He's been through this. He's suffered. And the biggest thing is, and I've said this openly before as well, I'm a qualified solicitor in the UK. I've never had to wash anybody's clothes. But when Jaggi's first days, when he was in constant remand, Paji was washing his clothes and taking them back to Jaggi so that he had a fresh pair of clothes. The kids were calling him Chacha Ji, etc. So that's an extra dard that he has for the Panth. He knows how the families feel, etc. That's why he's done all that. And that's out with being a lawyer. He understands when Jaggi's wife wants to ask about the case, it might be the same questions that everybody's asked, but he goes, कोई नहीं, साडी भैन आ, असी उन्हां गल करनी है, मैं क्यों, मैं अपनी छोटी भैन नाल क्यों नहीं गल करनी. When Paji's came here as well, and he's met my nana, nanny, my dad, and he's basically like a family member. And I was saying to him at the time when he came, it felt as if we were getting Jaggi from the airport when the first time he came here. So when you've got someone that's doing the case in that kind of way, we can't say anything against him. And we're fully grateful for the support that he's been giving in the case itself and keeping me up to date. And he's not one of these lawyers that just says, I'm the lawyer, you don't know anything. He actually speaks to you. He considers the advice or the discussion you have, and if he thinks it's legible or usable, he'll use it. He's never ever said, no, I can't use this. Or sometimes we've drafted something, you know, say, "Paji, ये तो बहुत लम्बा वा, इत्थे तो छोटी जी चीज चल दी है." So in that terms of Paji himself, I think he's done more than it's been asked of him, and together we will get Jaggi back out. And as I said, he's sat about what lawyer sits about till this time of the night. I think it's 12:30, and he's back in Mohali in the morning when there is Punjab restrictions in the morning due to a Kisan issue. But he didn't. He was at Amritsar today for Sikh Legal Assistance Board. So he's left early in the morning. He's still on at this time of the night, and he's there whenever we've asked him to be. So again, I'm not just saying this because he is Jackie's lawyer, but a lot of people who are on this call, a lot of people that know Baji as well, is he does care genuinely, and he's not speak his mind, and he's not scared to say the truth. One of the things I wanted to mention, I didn't want to take too much of Baji's time, was one of the other lawyers that assisted us right at the start told us to be quiet about the torture and not mention Jaggie's torture to anyone, because this is normal. This is what happens. The same lawyer, when I got to India, when this whole fiasco started, I met him and he just said, I think you should leave the country right now. And I was like, I've not even seen him yet. He goes, नहीं तुसी चल जाओ तो मैं ਇਹਦੀ देखभाल कर लूंगा, मैं ਇਹਨੂੰ कढ़ा लूंगा, इदा कर लूंगा. Same lawyer had said that he'd been giving Jaggi food. I gave him money thinking he was going to visit him. He hadn't been visiting him. And so these are things that we get to see. Baji was brave when he got up and said, Jaggi, on the 14th of November, when Jaggi was met with him, he said that Jaggi's told me he's been tortured. And I also recall the fact what Baji's talked about tonight, which is when Jaggi was supposed to be taken to judicial custody, he was intercepted and taken to a magistrate's house. A lawyer didn't have to go chasing after the magistrate's house. He got his resources that told him this is what's happening. And when Jaggi met Baji Manjpur, he goes, "Tusi itthe aa gaye?" And Jaggi's head was in his hands, because he knew what kind of situation happens. And he was in a dark cell. Baji's told us this, and he's like, "Baji, tusi itthe bhi aa gaye." Te ਉਹਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣਾ ਹੀ ਸੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੀਤਾ ਵਕੀਲ. And he got Bharosa at the same time as well. But Jaggi thought, and we've read it in his letter, what they threatened him with, what they were going to do to him. But Baji Manjpur has stood by us side by side. When it came about collusion talking, it came about UK and India colluding, Baji's not been shy to mention these things and openly talk about them. He's met a lot of people. He's met Gareth Peirce. They've had an open and frank discussion after the Raids case, after the current cases that are going on with Deepa Baji. And sometimes I do feel bad about that as well, because he didn't know me, but he stood with me to be Jaggi's voice. He's going through a lot of hardships for standing up for Jaggi's voice. So standing up for those issues that as Gursikhs we're supposed to be standing up for, because we need to stand up for injustices. So he's taken a lot on the chin, but he's still here supporting. He's still raising Jaggi's voice. And I believe until he is back, and even when he is back, that we'll continue to raise other people's voices as well.
All right, Guru, thank you for giving us that insight, really. That is just really incredible. And us at the Sikh Press Association, we do always encourage people to follow Manjpur Sahib. He's on Twitter, so you can see directly the kind of content that he puts out, what he says about these cases directly from the horse's mouth. And it's great to know kind of, the character behind a person in such a prominent role and why he's so respected in many different Bantik circles, so, like Sikh activist circles. A couple of things, Gurpreet, that I did want to put to you. Firstly, we do have a question from someone in the chat that it was meant to be for Manjpur, but I think you might be able to answer. They wanted to ask, is this going to plan for India, or have they found themselves stuck with the Jaggi situation after so much exposure? And what
I think they've found themselves stuck in respect of the pressure that we put. The UK government had said they'll take extreme action if a British national had been tortured. That put India's back up, and now all they're trying to do is prolong the case out to show that they have a case. But in fact, on the international community, people are wise themselves now. People that had said that he might have done something, that's why he was detained, now are questioning. 3 years on, he's still to be formally charged, says it all. So I think that answers the question. The Indians are very defensive on everything. So when the UK government are writing to say that they've raised the case over 50 times with the Indians and they've not received a satisfactory response, that says it all.
That does.
Again, they have said today they said to the BBC report in Scotland that they raised Jaggi's case with the Foreign Secretary from India. Again, what I've said is that's not enough. Where is this extreme action that you promise you're going to take? Now it's 3 years on, it's arbitrary detention, and the UK government need to do more than they have been doing. So it's definitely, I think India, Jaggi, as they say, is a thorn. Because every time Jaggi, any Indians come or anyone's talking to any officials, what will happen is they'll talk about Jaggi. Whether it's slightly or a lot or whatever it is, they have to raise Jaggi's case. And from my understanding, the Indian High Commissioner in London right now is annoyed because any politician or any minister that's talking to them is talking about Jaggi and asking what's going on with the case.
I have to add a point from the Sikh Press Association interactions with the Indian High Commission when we've discussed the Jagtar Singh Jahal case. Again, you mentioned they're defensive, and they definitely are, because the excuses are laughable in that they've said, well, we don't have a media department to be able to give you updates on this case. So, you know, we can't give you updates, but at the same time, the updates that we are giving that are coming from yourself and the official campaign, they're unfair, but they're not going to give us any updates from themselves anyway. So, I mean, you know, I think that just says a lot. And that's from the Indian High Commission and official government establishment. And I think, you know, to think that they haven't got somebody that could provide us with updates if they wanted to, I think, you know, that says a lot about how they're trying to work. The other question I wanted to ask you yourself, Viji, before I go back to Deepa, is how involved are you yourself as a lawyer in the legalities of, you know, Jaggi's case, Jaggi's situation, as much as you can tell us anyway?
So Paji had told us what the format was in India and how it would work. So in terms of the legal strategy, it's all been discussed. We discussed it when Paji came here. We've discussed it when we need to, as to what steps we need to take. So I'm actively involved. That's why I know as much as Paji knows what's going on in the case. Obviously, he's read all the documentary paperwork, etc. I've read most of it, but not into the depth that he has. So I am actively involved, and that's why I know what's going on with the proceedings. When I'm actively responding or giving updates, that's the only way I can do it, is being actively involved in the proceedings aspect of knowing what's going on in court, what's going to happen, and what we need to do.
I have looking to unmute Julie, see if she's if she can speak, because I think she has to leave. That's Julie Hambleton, who again is respected. I think she just left actually. Has
No,
she just
I'm
left?
here.
Oh, you're here. Okay, you can hear her.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If there's anything you have to go now, if there's any kind of closing statements about the situation.
I have to go because I've got one of our own Zoom meetings to attend.
No problem.
Because we've got a concert. Actually, we've got a concert that's been planned, a couple of concerts next year. And I asked Deepa if he knows any Bangla groups that have the drums and that can come and join in, and if you want to make it more possible as you can, pass Birmingham's heritage. But I just want to say to everybody, particularly Gurpreet and Deepa, and obviously to you, Gurpreet, what a fantastic team you all made, and your lawyer, Gurpreet, Jaggi's lawyer, sounds an absolute saint. He's very much like our legal team. And I've met Gareth Pierce ourselves, but we had a meeting with her for about 6 hours many years ago, and she came to our E-Fest last year. She's a force to be reckoned with, a lovely lady. And but your lawyer, what an incredible, fantastic, benevolent, what a human being he is. When you campaign, you realise that there are more good people in the world than there are bad. And I'm so sorry for what has happened to your brother, but I promise you, I will do what I say. And if there is anything we can do, Deepa has their details, And I just want to say thank you for the invite. I feel a lot more informed now. I apologise if I sounded a little ignorant as to it all earlier. It's just that I only knew snippets really, but I'm so glad that I was invited to this because I'm so much more aware. So when I write my letters, I will be able to put in what I've learned this evening. But can I just confirm one thing? Did you say that the prosecution have said they don't have the money to defend their case against your brother? Is that
And
correct?
in the last hearing, they said that they don't have the money to provide the defense with the prosecution evidence because of the amount of cost it's going to cost.
It's just outrageous, absolutely outrageous. I mean, talk about climbing the wall and putting up barriers. Well, I will add that into my. I mean, it's just outrageous, and this is a country that claims to want to be democratic, for goodness sakes, and they follow a lot of our judiciary legislation, don't they? But anyway, before I go, I just wanted to say thank you from our heart to your heart that we are with you shoulder to shoulder. I promise you, Deepa knows this, and if we can do anything, please contact us. All right.
No. Thanks a lot, Julie.
Sincere regards to your brother. If you ever get a chance to speak to him, but we're here for you. All right. But in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and stay well, everybody.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. I think Julie's contribution is a great reflection of some of the work of Sikh Youth UK that I guess isn't always kind of projected through social media, but at a grassroots level, they are always making these kind of connections. They are connecting at a real kind of personal level and making real relationships and not just trying to project a social media image when it comes to their work. And I think that's, you know, that relationship, the fact that she's come on and she sat here for 2 hours to listen and contribute, even, you know, not understanding Punjabi for large chunks of this. I think that's really telling about the work of Sikh Youth UK that you're doing. So Deepa Singh, in regards to that kind of work, what kind of atmosphere have you noticed in regards to kind of both with Sangat, within the Sikh community? What kind of atmosphere has this work that you're doing, creating awareness, you know, that we're all in this together? What kind of atmosphere has that fostered with both, like I said, the Sikh community and also others like Julie and other community groups you connect with?
So obviously, like the Justice for 21 campaign is just one example, but through them we've met the Hillsborough disaster. We've met the families from there. We've met others from other injustices as well. So Julie's been fantastic, engaging us with some of the other injustices that have been going on in the UK. It's important, and on ourselves, off our own back, some of the engagement with the scandal of Rotherham and those sorts of injustices against young white girls, of grooming gangs and perpetrators. You know, people, when you talk about the similarities of injustices, and you see, even recently there was a lady who lost her son, Ricky Reels, and we were speaking to them, and that happened in Kingston on a night out. 3 Sikhs went out, and he sadly died and was murdered in a race hate crime. And that hasn't really took off. I didn't even hear about it before. So, you know, it's really, you know, engaging with people and talking about injustice, you learn more and you see how bad and corrupt the system is. Not just India, I'm talking about UK as well. So that's that. And what it does is unites all these campaign teams because there's so many similarities. Like one of the ladies from the Hillsborough disaster, her brother sadly died in the Hillsborough disaster. And because she was campaigning to get some sort of justice, her house was bugged, her car was bugged. And she explained all this to us. So, you know, it don't just happen to Sikh, it happens to activists who are going up against the system. So, you know, we need to be aware of these things. So that's engaging with non-Sikhs, I'd say. Engaging with the Sangat, apart from your one or two, which would try and tarnish it because they have personal differences, I think the majority unite. Now, this campaign, the Joggi campaign, has united most of the Panthik activists. It has united Sikh voices, like Narjwani just joined us. He's been writing about the articles in he's always raised Jaggi's voice. The Sikh activists online, Gurudeep Preet Kaur from Malaysia today, she put a video out. You know, there's activists across the globe. Canada, one of the guys in the music industry, Sonny Moulton, he was reaching out today. He shared. So, you know, internationally, the Sangat fully back it, and it's united. The more they try to pressure individuals, although some conversations may take place of scaremongering, it doesn't put that much fear into the Sikh community. What it does is unite us internationally. And it's, you know, you want about projecting, it's projected a massive voice for the campaign. It's become a movement, the Free Jaggi now has. And it's, you know, insane people making posters, the hashtag. If you just put the hashtag and go online, you can see the amount of stuff that is online, which is fantastic. So uniting the Sangat is massive, you know, and raising Jaggi's voice and being that, like Julie said, shoulder to shoulder with the campaign team. I'm happy to be part of the campaign team. You know, we do the Jaggi Awareness Week every year since it's happened. This year is the third year, obviously, and this last year we were at universities on site talking. I took Gurpreet with me. We were speaking at Brunel University last year, and a couple of the others. We were getting the students involved, which is great. So today we've done the same, reached out some students who have been pushing it out online as best they can. So it was great. A lot of Sikh societies were sharing it today. A lot of Punjabi societies, even the Bangla societies were reaching out and sharing things. So it's really good, the engagement at a grassroots level. And that's one thing that Jazz, you mentioned, and I want to pick up on. There's about projecting online, and then there's actually on the ground. And it's not like, just because I'm on the Zoom doesn't mean I'm the only one. There's teams across the country that our Sevadars have been on the ground, who have been targeted, who have been, you know, threatened to be extradited, or people have been targeted at airports and whatnot. So it's so important that you realize how much, you know, because of you put yourself out there, that there is, you know, targeting. It does happen. It is this targeting of Sikh activists is unreal, honestly, and we need to look above and work out a long-term plan for this. Really important. And it's great, you know, engaging with Sikh PA, who have always been Jaggi's voice, and, you know, understanding how what you can and can't say out there, and how you mediate with other media to get Gopi on or others out there to speak about Jaggi. And, you know, like the GMT TV one, that was a massive victory, because it just came from nowhere after so long. Jaggi's voice was silenced because of COVID, and that happened again. You know, engaging at grassroots, you were talking, you know, through COVID and through the lockdown and the different tiers that they had and the restrictions, we still managed to do a protest outside Downing Street, because that's how the Sangat have done for Jaggi's campaign. So it was wicked. And that engaged, it wasn't, if you look, there wasn't a lot of elders there. It was all Najwan from across the country. It was fantastic. You know, people were coming. It was really good, and a lot of people got involved. A lot of speeches were getting done, and, you know, we presented a nice bit of unity to the world there, and we showed India and UK that, look, we're not going to be silent. We're not going to stop here. This is through COVID. We're still doing this. So, you know, a lot is going to happen in the future. And that's what I wanted to say. So if there's any grassroots people out there who want to do something, please reach out. 100%, we can push you in the right direction and get you active, definitely.
There is one question for you that had come via our YouTube, and it's about, the question was anything taken by the police during that raid? Has it all been returned?
Nothing's been returned to myself. Money was taken. Merchandise was taken. You know, they've done all sorts, and just like Jaspal Singh Manjpur said, they were looking into an investigation which was in India on a so-called murder case, and this is why these raids took place, and they have no evidence and on that there, so then they've pushed it here. And this is what Jaspal Manjpur, a barrister advocate in Jaggi's case, has clearly said today. So, you know, massive collusion, nothing returned, you know, left everyone. The whole point of this, and this is why West Midlands Police and the Counter-Terrorism Unit are involved in this, and it's not your normal police that were involved in this, it's counter-terrorism. They're there to disrupt your life. And this is what they've been doing. They're there to disrupt your life, make things inconvenient so you can't be an activist. But Maharaj di Kirpa and all the Sangat support, we're continuing to be active, you know, as best we can within the restrictions and the bail conditions they've given us. But yeah, nothing's returned, but we will keep doing. As SEC, we have to stand up for injustice. It's like what Gurpreet said. As a SEC, this is our way of life. If you're someone said to me, and it's really important. It was at one of the Barsis at West Brom Gurdwara, and it was Gyani Sukhrar Singh from Seek to Inspire, and he said, if you don't get cases against you, you know, sometimes you really must think that, you know, if you don't get one, it's not normal as a SEC. So, you know, something like that from Gyani Sukhrar Singh, something saying things like that, you know, it shows that the Sangha know what's going on.
I just want to add as well that the result that we can speak about at the minute in regards to that raid, which was conducted by the terror unit of whichever police department, whichever regional police it was, is that there's a Charities Commission case at the minute being put against yourself. So, I mean, people can take from that, you know, make your own understanding of that. It went from a terror unit raid into a Charities Commission case for a group that weren't even a charity at the time. So, I mean, you know, what they have in that situation, or what they've kind of come down to.
I'd like to say something as you're talking there. Sorry to interrupt. The exact charge against me is misleading the Charity Commission. So it's literally an email which was sent after the raids.
Okay, so I mean, that's very telling. Raids,
so January 2019, an email was sent, and they're saying that that's misleading the Charity Commission. This is after the initial raids.
And again, we can't say too much about the case, but I think we can reveal that much. And that you know, people can come to their own conclusions about what that says about the fact that the terror units were raiding houses, only for that to be the end result. Now, before we conclude this, because we've been in for 2 hours, I don't want to keep people on, and I've still got a couple of questions for Gurpreet Singh. Is there anyone here? We do have a couple of well-respected Sevadars, that's selfless servants and activists and educators on the call. If there's anyone that wants to speak or has anything to add from any of these activists and Panthik Sikh organizations, you know, just put it in the chat, raise your hand as you can in the Zoom, and I'm happy to let you contribute. So do that. But in the meantime, I just want to ask, I'm just keeping my eye on that. I did want to ask Gurpreet a question, which I just remind myself of. Oh yeah, so Gurpreet, is there any kind of routine process at the minute in regards to your relationship with the British consulate or the Foreign Office?
So at the moment, because of the pressure that's been put on them, I have a weekly FCDO update from them. And Lord Ahmed has been a more active minister in Jaggi's case since he's been involved. So when there's an emergency meeting that's required, I just email him direct or his office. And 9 times out of 10, he has adhered and allowed that to take place. So that kind of relationship has slowly been built, but the FCDO's main office, who are in communication with me, have always frustrated the family with constant long-winded emails with no substance in them, or not providing the information that they should have provided, which is a pain. But then everything they have done is documented. So once Jaggi is back, this is all kind of information that will be able to be presented going forward. In terms of relationship with the UK government, I wouldn't say it's a great one. If it was, Dominic Raab would have met us. It wouldn't have taken us until April 2019 for Jeremy Hunt to meet the Foreign Secretary. So they really should be taking a more proactive role in this and show the seriousness of it. At the end of the day, Jaggi has not been convicted. Jaggi hasn't even been formally charged on 8 of 9 cases. There were 10 cases. He was fully withdrawn from one of them. They're not letting the other 8 go at the moment, because they understand that if they do let those proceed, the likelihood is that they'll have mud in their face, because those will get withdrawn. If those cases are withdrawn, or Jaggi's cleared of all those by the judge, then what do India have to rely on? After you made a call, you did an open blog about the documentary when the Indian High Commissioner in February 2018 went on to a radio channel and said that we have charged Jaggi and we've got all the evidence against him. And they didn't have anything to counter back when it was in written, because there was an audio, there was a written submission, and to come on, we're coming, what, if we count that February 2021 now, that'll be, what, 3 years since they said that, and they've not put any evidence out. So again, it's, for me, I think the UK government can be doing a lot more. One of the PNGs is asked, are they doing enough? They're not. They should be doing more. The Tory MPs are not doing enough. They should be doing a lot more than they are, because there's a lot of Sikh constituents that are affected by Jaggi. If it's not the Jaggi case, it's the Kisan case, and Tory MPs brush that off. We've seen that in the Kisan lobby that took place. So this is where we do have Sikh constituents. Anybody listening, anybody on this call or that will go on YouTube looking, there's another webinar which is taking virtual lobby on the 10th of November, which is for the MPs because of COVID restrictions. So what we should be doing is the draft template on the Free Jaggi Now Facebook page. It's also on Sikh PA and Sikh Federation. So there's draft templates there that we should be inviting MPs to attend. And if they cannot attend, then a member of their staff should attend, because this affects a lot of Sikhs in the UK itself. Not only that, this is an opportunity now for the international Sikhs to get involved, because a lot of them said, how do we write to an MP when it's a UK citizen? In that lobby, international speakers could still come in and have their point said. They can write in the message. So my beinti to everybody is going to be is, in the UK, write to your MP if you have not already written to them. Make sure they attend the lobby on the 10th of November between 3 and 5 o'clock, because that will give us the opportunity to put the whole position forward, and we'll find out what MPs are actually coming to speak for you. Because all they need to do is come in 5-10 minutes. It's not a long time. It's a click of the button to log in. So it's possible to do. So ask your MPs to attend. If not, get the office member, or at the very least, what that draft letter says is asking you for specific actions. One of those actions is that the Indian Foreign Secretary was in the UK. Was Jaggi's case raised, and what steps are being taken? These are answers that can be provided. Another thing that has happened through our letter campaigning is that it puts pressure on your MP. It puts pressure on the FCDO now, what they're called. It puts pressure on Dominic Raab, because they all need to respond. And to a certain extent, it puts pressure on the Indian High Commission as well, because if you write to your MP, they need to come back to you. So for those reasons, please do write out. Please do attend the Zoom call yourself as well, because it'll be an open Zoom call in which you'll be guest speakers, including Baji Manjpur. There'll be a member from Redress, and there'll be other members that will be coming in, but there'll be also international speakers at that Zoom call. So it's a beinti to the youngsters, because it was the youngsters that got Jaggi trending. It was the youngsters that got hashtag Free Jaggi Now trending in Canada, America, and the UK. And again, it's them that can really push this forward. So it's them that we need to get involved, and it's them to provide us further ideas. Like Deepa said, grassroots is what he's been doing. He knows how to motivate, activate, and promote, and what to do. So if there's ideas they need, reach out to CPF UK, reach out to the Free Jaggi Now page. And this is an avenue that we can use to really raise awareness for Jaggi. Point out what I want to make is, this has happened to Jaggi. We've experienced it. This family's experienced it. I personally do not want any other family to experience this kind of plight that we have. As Maharaj is fun, but we don't want others to face this. And anyone internationally is not safe. And British citizens detained abroad need to be protected. So it's our duty to make sure this doesn't happen to any of our brothers and sisters going back to India again, because the Indian government have tried to make a an example of Jaggi, but it backfired because we've got now people around the world supporting. You've got Julie, who came on board from the Tory conference protest that we had arranged after the raids. There's a PNG on here, that's 16 years old, that's been messaging on the private chat. She's from India. And she's sitting there watching this because she's got Hamdardi with Jaggi. There's other people private messaging saying they're with the family and supporting. So there's a lot of ideas that we can progress, and it's the youth that's going to have to take this forward. So we request that please throw ideas at us. Please do keep getting motivated, and if there's guidance or advice you need, please reach out to Free Jaggi Now campaign team or reach out to Seek Youth UK, and we can guide you of how to do it.
Jazz, I just wanted to say, Dabinderjit Singh's on from Sikh Fed. If you could get him to speak, would be nice.
Hanji, yeah, brilliant. I'm just going to unmute him. Dabinderjit Singh, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So Dabinderjit Singh is an advisor for the Sikh Federation who have been central to the Free Jaggi Now campaign and lobbying our government to kind of address it. So Dabinderjit Singh, the floor is yours.
I like most things, I was probably multitasking and trying to listen as much as I could. It's really difficult to know what to say because whenever I hear Jaspal Singh Manjpur or even Gurpreet speak, you know, you do become quite emotional. It's almost like 3 years ago, none of us, apart from Gurpreet, or perhaps one or two others, knew who Jaggi was. And I'll tell a bit of my personal story because this almost feels like we're sitting around the living room talking to each other as friends. You know, when a week after Jaggi was arrested and Gurpreet got back from India, I remember a phone call from Wolverhampton, and the man said, I'm your Bendu and I'm Jaggi's mama. And we have lots of Bendus in Wolverhampton, and I thought, you know, I asked my mum, I said, who is this person? And she didn't know. And he goes, you won't know this, but your dad picked up Jaggi's mum from the airport when she first came from India, because Bendy Kudi Aisi. And, you know, and I wouldn't have known that had he not told me. My father passed away 20 years ago because my dad was the sort of first person that had a car in Slough. And then obviously, I think Gurpreet went round his house, and actually he was Jaggi's wife's mama, but obviously he was also now Jaggi's mama. And that's when I realized that both of them had their Nanke in our pen. And the first time I went to Dumbarton, and I know Baji picked us up, and he was talking about how Jaggi's wife said, I'm their nonna, apparently. So Baji, and we talk Baji, but actually I'm technically even Godfrey's nonna then. So I think the world is such a small place. But this is the whole point about personal stories is I know people like Professor Davinder Pal Singh Pullar. When you talk about a case and what happens in a case, people can relate to it. When we talk about thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, people can't relate to it. But as soon as you tell a story through one person, even yesterday at the Cholera event, when the author of the book told of her story from November 1984, from a different bend or different share in India, not Delhi, and how they had to survive. You know, she became emotional, she started crying. So I think that is the biggest thing going in this campaign, is this is a person we can all relate to living in the UK. But actually, one of the things that I've been doing, and no doubt Godfrey's been getting lots of messages, is I think we do need to come up with new ideas. 3 years is a long time, but as Jaspaal Singh Manchpur said, we don't know. Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3? Because we're dealing with the Indian system here. It doesn't matter about evidence or anything. Delays is a common thing, and the politics and the profile of the case is we are where we are. We can't turn the clock back. People will come to you, Gurpreet, and many have said, we should have kept it low profile, etc. Well, life isn't like that. We did what we did at the time. That's what Maharaj wanted us to do. That's what, and I would love to, in another meeting, I was saying to Gurpreet, I'm going to try and get people like Lal Singh, Professor Buller on a call, just to hear their voice. I remember the first time Jaspaal Singh Manchpur was in a car with Professor Buller. He came onto the call. It was really emotional. He was somebody that, we were protesting about, writing about, that spent most of his life in prison. And we'd heard about his mental sort of state, his family life. It was unbelievable. These people are in Chardi, just like Jaspaal Singh Manchpur, and same as Jaggi and those with him. And I think that concept of Chardi Kala that's within us all, right, is what's going to just drive us forward. And so I've sent a couple of ideas to Gurpreet. I think it'd be really good if others could send ideas, because if we develop those ideas, bounce things off each other, I think that the thing about this campaign is it's gone beyond the Sikh community. Talked about Julie, but people in Scotland can relate to it. And I think, this is one of my comments, early on, probably in the first 3 to 6 months, this was a massive international issue. Sikhs across the globe knew about Jaggi, and they still know about Jaggi, but actually, we've had to campaign for 3 years. They probably find it more difficult because they can't relate in the same way. They can't read those news items. So I think, again, creating that, a lot of good can unfortunately come from, the situation that Jaggi and others find themselves in. But I think that's what we do. We get stronger as individuals, we get stronger as a community. And I think, I'm just praying for the day when, Jaggi is back, because I don't think even he probably realizes how big, Free Jaggi now is. It's an international phenomenon. And actually, this is how the anti-apartheid movement really came alive. It wasn't the Black community, it was the non-Black community that made it theirs. And I'm not saying the Free Jaggi now will become a non-Sikh movement, but actually the more non-Sikhs we can involve, they can relate to Jaggi, they can relate from, somebody that they may come across, they could relate to as a friend, as a neighbor. And so I think it's all those things that we can all do and tell that personal story, because it's so powerful. I'm going to stop because I can talk and talk, but I think, it'll be really good to get ideas either now, offline, and build upon them, because we could probably use events like this to become a bit more of a working thing, to really just say, yeah, we've reached that 3-year milestone. No one wanted to reach that 3-year milestone, but actually we should feel stronger and better about it. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Just before I leave the final points to Gurpreet and Deepa Singh, I'm going to ask Tanessa Kaur of Cause Legal UK to speak. I've met Banji at various occasions when she was doing Seva for Sikh Youth UK on raising awareness for the Free Jaggi Now campaign, and she's currently a barrister that has set up Cause Legal UK, as I said, and doing fantastic work in the legal world, representing the Sikh community and also working for the Sikh community too. So Banji, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Just to say that everybody needs to continue supporting the campaign. As much awareness that we get out, I know Deepa Baji does a lot of awareness on Jaggi's campaign. Even just sharing posts on like social media, they can go a long way. And I think it's important that, like, you know, we continue with this fight, because until we get Jaggi back, like, it's not going to stop all this harassment of the 5 Singhs and everyone else that's been dragged into it. But also, like Julie said, that some of the laws in India are exactly the same to UK. So what's happening there is quite shocking, because if it happened in the UK, for example, they keep adjourning hearings and stuff like that. If that happened here, people would be found to be in contempt of court. And really, they've just made the whole justice system into a joke, because Jaggi hasn't been allowed to have a fair trial, which is something that everyone's entitled to as a human being. So I think it's really important that we continue to raise Jaggi's voice, and just make sure we're heard and continue not to stop, even if we are shut down by Facebook, Instagram, or the social media platforms. We need to carry on and just show our support to Gurpreet Baji and his family.
Thank you so much for that, Banji. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So yeah, we're going on 2.5 hours now, so I'm going to ask for just any closing points from Gurpreet and Deepa. And just to keep it simple, guys, if you could say, you know, what more can people do to help and support and raise awareness, if there's anything specific, and anything else you'd like to add.
I'll let Gurpreet finish off last. I'll just finish off with one thing, basically, 1 or 2 things quickly. Get involved, reach out to us. Our details are online, obviously. You can get us on Instagram at the moment, and on Twitter we'll be under Sikh Activists. So I know it's a bit confusing. Just reach us on Instagram, Sikh Youth UK. If you need to reach out, or get a hold of us through Jaggi's campaign, and somebody, any Sikh activists in the UK will know about details. What we'll want is people with decent skill sets. Whatever skill sets you got, let us know, and then we can direct you into what we need you to do on the ground for us. Very important. You know, people talk about Daswand and giving 10% of their money. Give 10% of your time. Put some effort in. That could help raise issues. If you're a skill set in media, you could come in handy. If you've got skill sets in press, you know, you can help Just Feed, obviously, and you can help some of the other organizations write press articles and press releases daily. Anything you can do, whatever your skill set is, let us know and we'll activate you. We'll make sure we activate you. That's not no doubt, 100% we will push you and make you do what you can. But yeah, do it within your time. You know, and if you want to do Gupt or if you want to do public, you're more than welcome to do either. But more activists, the better. That's what we need. It only takes 1 or 2 to start a revolution, and Jaggi started a revolution. So let's just push that, and let's get that. Never forget 84. While he's away, we've set up the museum with other Sevadars across the country, you know, collecting. So the same Never Forget 84 that they're trying to shut down is only going to grow. There's a museum there set now, which has got Shahid Singh's items in there and stuff like that. So the message is going to continue. Nobody would ever be able to stop us doing what we can as long as we're active. So it's all about being active. But yeah, thanks, Jazz, for today. Hosting, smashed it. Honestly, I really appreciate it. It's great to see CPA, you know, pushing the right issues to the forefront, which is a priority. So thank you. I really appreciate it from me, the whole team, and from the campaign team as well.
No problem, Rich. Yeah, Gurpreet Singh, if there's anything else that you want to add. Actually, before I'll let you have the final say, but I just want to add, from the Sikh Press Association perspective, as was touched on earlier, there's definitely not enough in the media about the Jaggi case, especially comparative to the Nazanin case, which is kind of similar. It's similar in that it's a British citizen detained overseas. She was only detained, I think, like approximately 6 months, maybe like close to a year prior to when Jaggi was. Actually, I think it's just over a year. But the timelines are quite similar and the coverage isn't. So anyone that wants to help us, just reach out to any media organizations and ask them, why aren't you talking about this story? Tweet at them, Instagram them, comment on the articles, comment towards the journalists that you see are prominent talking about similar issues, and tag us in, because we are constantly reaching out to them. So we just need them to know that there is public interest in these stories, and that will help us kind of push this into the media and fulfill our role and do it even better than we're trying. Thank you, Gurpreet.
I just want to say thank you for everybody that's joined. Thank you for hosting this at short notice as requested. It's really appreciated. Please continue to raise awareness for Jaggi, the virtual lobby on the 10th of November. Write to your MPs to make sure they attend. Please do attend yourself as well, because that will be an opportunity to see which MPs attend and which MPs will be putting Jaggi's voice up. So it's really important to do that. Our Benti is going to be, Deepa's talked about this one, but I'm talking about whoever specialists can come in, media, graphics designers, website designers, please do come involved. We spoke briefly about Sikh Legal Assistance Board, which was set up after Jaggi's message because there's a lot of political prisoners that don't have representation. So Benti from myself is going to be, we need website designers to really push Sikh Legal Assistance Board forward. And if anybody wants to give any of this one, please give it to Sikh Legal Assistance Board, because who knows, whichever political prisoner whose representation we do, their families Ardas might be the Ardas that gets Jaggi back. So it's Benti from the family. We don't need the financial funds for the Free Jaggi Now campaign, but Sikh Legal Assistance Board is a charity who's representing 60 to 70 political prisoners just now. We've had a lot of successes. You can find more information on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So please support that, because it's our duty to help our brothers and sisters in India as well to get legal representation. Jaggi's been lucky that he's had the family and he's had all your support, but there's many that don't have that support. And just to finish off, today was 2 people have been released from prison after 3 years and 4 months. The judge sentenced them to 3 years, even though they've done more of a sentence. He also fined them 10,000 rupees each. If they couldn't afford to pay the 10,000 rupees, they would have to spend another 3 months in jail. And the people that have been sentenced to 10 years have been fined 50,000 rupees, and if they can't pay that, they'll be sentenced to another year in jail. That's another year or 3 months that they don't have to, and some don't have the funds because they've spent that much time already in prison. So my Benti is, please support Sikh Legal Assistance Board, and let's help get legal representation for our brothers and sisters to get out of prison and able to move on with their lives.
Thank you, G. And I think that's a perfect way to end this. Again, thank you for the opportunity, and just keep up the fantastic work and leading the way for us to deal with this issue, which impacts not just Jaggi, but all of the Sikh Qawm, the Sikh nation, and it has been a long-running issue and most likely will be for as long as we continue our duty as Sikhs. So thank you, Gurpreet Singh and Deepa Singh, for this. Thank you all for tuning in. This is going to be uploaded on SikhPA YouTube, so you can share as well. And so just look out for that as well for anyone that wants to catch up with anything that was said. Yeah, thank you all again. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru